Guess who's back? Back again. Kevy's back. Tell a friend. If you want to. It's fine. Whatever. Hang on a minute. Hang on, I want to know how do I collaborate again?
Us putting a tariff on them is worse for us. Like, it would also have a problematic result on the value of the pound, but I don't think that's worth it. I think it was more. I think it's more. I don't think we should reciprocal tariff. I don't think we should. Trump has placed more sanctions on Israel than any other Western country. Whoa, whoa, whoa! David Lammy cancelled 8% of our arms licenses. From the BBC, the president says soon he'll be getting calls from kings, queens and ambassadors looking for tariff exemptions. His message to them is, terminate your own tariffs, drop your barriers, don't manipulate the currencies and start buying tens of billions of dollars worth of American goods. Trump dissed China. Like, we already buy loads of their fucking goods. Trump seems to think the importers will be paying these tariffs on behalf of their customers somehow. I know, right? It's just... except trying to get right-wingers to understand economics, like Impossible Edition. Yeah, look at David Lammy making like an international laughing stock of himself. David Lammy saying as soon as he got the foreign secretary, well, actually, I know I said that Trump was Hitler, but then he bought me fucking 2 meals, and now I don't think he's Hitler anymore. Nope, didn't help him at all in avoiding the tariffs. No exemption at all. Imagine being such a pathetic specimen as David Lammy. Oh my god, imagine. It must be so humiliating. It must be so humiliating being David Lammy. Oh dear. And you know if someone deserves like international humiliation, you know full well it's David Lammy, right? Oh, that's it. You can do collaborations. Okay. Let me actually open my Twitch. I know I have the multi-stream chat coming from my end, Kev. So I always so I never actually open my Twitch dashboard. I will have a look.
Well, I know I did briefly use it, didn't I?
10% tariff on magic cards. Luckily, the magic cards are imported from Belgium. from America.
This is going super well, chap.
Literally, I'm taking the same approach to streaming as Keir Starmer is taking to governing. So true.
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me, Kev?
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Hello?
Why? Is it unmute? Always allow sound, okay.
Hello?
There we go, I can hear you now, perfect.
Awesome. How are you?
This is fucking hilarious.
It's excellent, isn't it? Yeah. 100% reciprocal tariff. So it turns out bending over backwards and sucking his dick and rubbing his arsehole didn't get us any benefit whatsoever.
No, but Starmer played a blinder.
He did.
Played a blinder, didn't he?
Played an absolute blinder. He might finish 4th at this rate. Brilliant. He's a fucking clown. Jesus Christ.
Well, we finally found a Brexit benefit though, Kev. We're getting a 10% tariff rather than a 20% tariff.
Well, yeah, but what's the advantage in us not having a 20% tariff thing? Because it's like half, right? So Vietnam had 90%, according to his weird little chart that he brought out. I don't know if you watched any of it. He brought out literally like a paper board chart thing and started reading from it. And it was 90% from Vietnam, and they got 45%. And it was like 80% from this country, 40%. So it was half, right? The reciprocal tariff was half. So why don't we have a 20% tariff then? Because it literally wouldn't change the amount we have. Percentage-wise, we are getting fucked worse than any country on the planet.
Well, there wasn't his justification for the tariff the fact that we have VAT.
Which isn't a fucking tariff. It's not a tariff. And it's so annoying. Like, we don't have a trade deficit with them. We have ridiculously low tariffs, and we're still getting fucked. Because the 25% car tax thing, that's still going through. We've got no fucking no benefit from that. Well, can I just ask Keir Starmer and David Lammy, what have you achieved? Look, I'm going to do a Musk here. I want 5 bullet points. What have you actually fucking achieved this week, you spineless cocks?
Kevin, David Lammy had 2 lovely meals from Trump and therefore thinks he's not Hitler anymore.
Well, you know what? I have to agree with him. Otherwise, it'll be a fucking tariff on streamers next. Then who knows what happens?
Hang on a minute, does this affect our revenue from Amazon?
I don't know. Maybe. I've lost the will to live, in all honesty.
Luckily, Google are based in Ireland, so I don't have to fucking care about YouTube.
Well, that's in the.
Thank you, tax havens. Woo! Finally, good for something.
True, but that's in the EU, isn't it? So yeah, but that's probably gonna get fucked harder. Oh no.
I mean, a bunch of American international businesses are probably going to move all of their headquarters away now.
Probably, I imagine. Yeah. Either way, it's going to fucking tank the economies of everywhere for no good purpose. Like, this is so fucking pointless, all of it.
But they're the tariffs. We're bringing America back to greatness. They've never seen America be so great than the tariffs that we had back in those days when America. I genuinely believe that Trump does tariffs for one reason. There's two reasons he does tariffs. The first big reason he does tariffs is because he wants to cut taxes for billionaires.
Right.
So essentially taxing consumers instead by slapping a massive great tariff. And second of all, it's because he remembers, he was looking at, America was great, before the before equality happened, just during before civil rights happened, And you know what we had in the economy? We had tariffs then. So they must be the reason why America was great. They had them in the 40s and 50s, therefore that was great, and therefore we should do it again. And that's it. That's his justification.
I was streaming a bit earlier, and I saw, because I was on with Curtis as well, which was lovely. And after that, I watched a bit of the thing, and Trump was literally saying he was praying in aid the American economy of the 1880s. He was saying, why did they introduce an income tax? And I just because of the Civil War, you prick. That was the first ever income tax in American history, was because you decided to slaughter each other for wanting to keep slaves, you bellend.
Also, just like any American, you can tell why he's harks back to the Gilded Age, is because, you know, that's what his fucking paymasters want. They want essentially an era of the fabulously wealthy and everyone else
Well,
impoverished working
well,
in chimneys, you know?
well, exactly. Yeah, I mean, for a start, they've already brought back child labour in various southern states, so brilliant.
They
And
have, and specifically to fill gaps by all the people they deported.
yeah, and secondly, like again, they harken back to the Gilded Age, but actually, it's worse. Literally, wealth disparities are worse than they were in the Gilded Age. Honest to God, the robber barons, the fucking Rockefeller and his lot, could only have dreamed of being worth fucking hundreds of billions of dollars. It's ludicrous. It's way more unequal now than it ever was before, and it's not
Yeah,
enough. It's
that's
still not enough for them.
Yeah, no, I mean, just it's funny watching. It's funny watching Elon Musk like being in interviews saying, "Oh, isn't it really mean that Tim Waltz was happy with watching the Tesla stock plummet?" And I'm just like, mate, if you think that that's evil, you should probably have a think of what my reaction would be if I saw like a Saddam Hussein style insert here broadcast live of Elon Musk on YouTube. Like, I'm sorry, it's just like these people are evil.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Well, I mean, firstly, again, yeah, I would enjoy that too. But secondly, I he and his ilk have spent ages going, go woke, go broke. Ha! Isn't it funny that this business collapsed because they went woke? Like, you motherfuckers have literally boycotted every company on earth for one reason or another, including Bud Light and Keurig coffee machines and the NFL. Like, motherfuckers, you don't get to claim now to turn around and be like, we should all be supporting American business. Fuck you. I want Tesla to die. Almost as much as I want other things to die as well.
I mean, I think you should just ban Tesla. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
go honest, just ban it. Ban that sick filth. Get it out. Get out of the fucking country.
Yeah, no.
I will happily buy RNDs, whatever the fucking Chinese electric vehicles are called. We don't have tariffs on them. The EU has tariffs on electric vehicles from China. We don't.
Yeah.
Cheap as chips.
Yeah.
BYD, thank you.
We have to, I think, treat Elon Musk as a foreign hostile actor and deal with him accordingly.
Yeah.
Yeah, simple as that. Oh God, the after hours, Jesus Christ, the markets have responded really well to Trump. In just the first few minutes of his speech, it went down nearly 1% in post-market trading.
Well, that's the thing is that this is what's going to happen. Is that so obviously the problem with America is that usually it's the older people, usually a bit more Republican America. They've got a similar kind of difference in generationally in terms of voting patterns, you know. And what's the first fucking thing that Trump's gone and done when he's been president? Fuck over their Social Security and their Medicare, and now he's killing their fucking 401ks. They're all entirely beholden on the state of the stock market in terms of how much pension provision they have, you know? Like, these people literally rely on having the ever-increasing value of the stock market to be able to retire properly in America. This is why the stock market had a bunch of liquidity pumped into it by the Biden administration during the pandemic, you know? And Trump did as well in his first term before he lost the election in 2020. Because the elderly require a functioning stock market to be able to continue to fund their pensions. And he's just immediately coming to there's fucking tumbling. Literally is tumbling immediately as we speak.
Yeah, a 401k is the pension plan, really, Minty.
I can't hear you, Kev.
Can't you? No? Am I not sure? Hang on 1 minute. Can I not share with sound?
Maybe not.
Oh, that's annoying. Anyway, but that's the graph of the fucking thing. I was saying to Really Minty that a 401k is a pension plan, basically. It's a savings plan that essentially functions as a pension pot, and they get piled together to make massive investment portfolios, and they get invested in the markets. So if the markets do badly, your pension gets fucked. Machiavellian power politics minded people would say that that's one of the greatest moves that capitalists ever made. It makes you have a vested interest in making sure that the market gets exactly what it wants, even though you have a tiny benefit and they earn trillions.
Exactly, yeah. You want to make your entire population entirely beholden and bought into the ever-expanding wealth of capital.
It's amazing. The fucking tricks that the capitalist manufacturing consent machine comes up with to make the working class
Literally
lick the boots and feel that they're benefiting from that boot licking. Amazing.
Exactly. And this is why, there are ways of doing this that aren't shitty. Like, the Norwegian pension fund is an index fund. It's basically a huge 401k. It's just owned by the fucking state. It's just owned by the state through the revenue of their own natural resources. Obviously, it's index linked. It's an index linked fund. It's an index linked fund, so they take the all revenue and invest it in the stock market like a 401k. But at the very least, the state is the one that's responsible. And rather than just gambling people's money on stocks, they've taken the natural resources that belong to everyone in Norway and used that to fund everyone's retirement. Right? Yeah. It's such an insanely better way of doing it. The fact that the American state has never thought once of just nationalizing its fucking gigantic stratospheric oil reserves is crazy to me.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Well, because they bought into the free market thing when it was the vaguely progressive thing. It was post-feudal. It wasn't like those European monarchies, and they just sort of stuck with it, really.
Well, that's the thing, right? So, is that the Marxism isn't the rejection of capitalism; it's the superseding of capitalism, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. People misunderstand that. Yeah, Marx wrote extensively about the fact that capitalism was not just a necessary step between feudalism and communism, but it had to happen. It was a better system. It was a more humane and decent system. It was the thing that had to happen in order for industrialization that then allows socialism to grow and develop. It was like a stepping stone on the humanity's march.
Exactly, the development of the productive forces and shit.
Yeah, exactly. But unfortunately, it's now metastasized into this neoliberal thing. Look, I was literally talking with Curtis earlier. If capitalists want to save capitalism, they need to read Adam Smith. Because Adam Smith hated the rentier system. He understood that you needed regulation and taxes in order to make sure that the workers are actually fit and able to work in fucking factories, and B, that you don't get the accrual of wealth in a very tiny number of hands.
Exactly, 100%, and like just as Marx predicted, you wouldn't be able to maintain and rein in capitalism. It would eventually eat itself, and here we are, right? This is people in the chat asking, "Will this kill capitalism?" I'm like, maybe after all, maybe the MAGA communists were right, Kev. Maybe Has was playing the long game. And he wasn't just grifting to try and make money off of right-wingers by pretending to performatively hate people with blue hair who unionized at Starbucks. He actually secretly had this plan that if you put Trump into America, Trump is so stupid that it would just destroy international capitalism if Trump became president.
And there are only two holes. Fact.
The theory is right.
The man understood economics and human biology. People laughed at him, but you know what? They laughed at Edison. They laughed at Galileo. They laughed at Has, and they're all exactly the same contribution to society.
So I mean, on a serious note, with regards to like Democratic versus Republican politics in America, Ettingementum, who's like the Zoomer Steve Kornacki, who does like progressive politics and like polls to stuff, and looks into like the mechanics of elections and on ideology and how it comes with Republican polling and things like that. And he was pointing out that what this referendum was really, other than the cost of living in America, the last election, it was a referendum on the imperial politics of America that Biden backed 100%.
Yeah.
You look at how we handled Israel and stuff, and everyone hates it. There's no base for this in America. The neocons have lost the Republicans, and the neoliberals have lost for the Democrats. Even though that Biden's economic platform was pretty progressive in terms of America, in terms of like historically democratic politics. But he lost because there was no base. There was no base for his I say neoliberal. It was neocon, right? He did foreign policy like a neoconservative, and it was just flatly rejected. And people kind of wanted this isolationist politics, but there was no mediating force to try and create an internationalist America rather than an imperialist or isolationist America, and so it got subsumed by the bastardization of what Trumpism has become on terms of geopolitics, and it's led to them rat-fucking the entirety of Western capitalism.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, this to a degree, you talk about the major parties having lost their base or whatever, and this is why I think Trump, the kind of master plan, if such a thing exists with Trump, with his attacks on like Greenland and Canada and all of this shit is that he wants to differentiate himself from the kind of, well, liberals first and foremost, but also the more sensible conservatives, I guess, without having to do anything. It's a very low output, high return political investment, because he's not going to invade Greenland, he's not going to invade Canada. For a start, I don't think the military would even go along with that. And of course, he's not all powerful. He's not actually like literally God or something. He can't make them do it. And people forget about the power of the military as an independent force. They're not apolitical. That's nonsense. He's not going to invade those places, but it does allow him to differentiate himself and piss off all of the people that he needs to piss off in order to keep his base on side.
Yeah, I think you're right. The thing is that I think it's interesting you talk about like the military as an independent force. Like, when do we get into military coup territory? I genuinely think we might see a military coup in this in America. It's crazy for me to say this, but like, how many times does Trump have to violate the Constitution and essentially threaten the entirety of American hegemony before the military step in and realize that he has to go?
I would be very, very surprised if those talks haven't begun. Like, and again, they don't have to be very well along. I'm just talking like, because often these things start off with just like two like-minded people having dinner and go, it's getting a bit out of hand now, isn't it? And from that, like that one little moment, you know, things begin to snowball, right? I'd be very surprised if those conversations haven't already taken place within the Pentagon and within, you know, circles. But I don't think they'll be very well along yet, because whilst it's not good what's happening from the perspective of people inside the Pentagon and the transatlanticist power broker type fucking wankers, the trilateral commission types, you know. It's not good from their perspective. It's not so destructive that they can't think to themselves, well, we outlasted him last time and we got our guy back in Biden. That could happen again in 4 years. You know what I mean? Like, there are some people who are more proactive, but in order for it to gain momentum, it needs people who are more fence city political generals to get on board with it before that happens. And I think he would have to go a lot more disastrously. Like, he's putting in the balls in motion that might lead to that disastrous situation, but it isn't there yet.
I mean, if you've seen, like, there's a 32% tariff on Taiwan. This has created an economic union potentially between Japan, China, and South Korea. They hate each other. Literally, Japan, China, South. Like, how has this happened?
Well, this is why I think these discussions will have taken place, because anyone who's looking forward to what might happen in the next 4 or 3.5 years, I guess, would you can see that, like, if Trump weren't trying to strengthen the hand of Russia and China, what policy would he be doing that much differently? Like, literally, what would he be doing if he were an actual, like, if let's say the lib wet dream is true, they've got the P-tape, he's secretly called Vladimir fucking Bolokov or whatever, right? And he's a Russian agent. How would he be behaving differently?
I mean, yeah, it's interesting.
The
purpose of a system is what it does, right?
Yeah, he's driving Japan and Taiwan and fucking South Korea into a situation of closer union or closer economic ties with China potentially. He didn't even know what AUKUS was, so like Australia, you might as well just fucking become part of a greater South Asian prosperity zone or whatever. He's essentially allowing Russia to have their way in Ukraine. I've no doubt about that. Like, he's just...
No, well, actually, apparently he pushed back now. He said he was very angry with Vladimir Putin over Ukraine talks.
Fuck me, at least John McDonnell writes a bastard letter. He's not even as fucking worthwhile as McDonnell. Oh, my word. And also, he tried to both sides. He was like, I'm very angry with Putin, but I'm also very angry with the Ukrainians. You can't be a radical centrist about this. What the fuck?
What's crazy as well is that the 32% tariff on Taiwan, this just literally just ejects America from, like, I mean, Like, how are they going to produce any of their computing products when they can't have access to semiconductors? Apparently, their vehicle tariffs, which is like 25%, is going to hit a bunch of computer products as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is why even the co-president, Elon, which by the way, masterful gambit, sir, losing that fucking election in Wisconsin, you fucking loser, Jesus.
By a bigger margin than the ones he didn't try and get involved in.
Yeah, literally every county in America, sorry, not in America, in Wisconsin, voted more Democratic than it did at the general election.
By like a huge margin as well.
Yeah, you spent 26 million, and all it proved was what I already knew, which is you are hated. You're supposed to puppeteer from the background. All of these evil oligarchs. This is why they got fucking Citizens United passed, so that they could secretly fund and wheel and deal and puppeteer from behind the scenes. You were out there going, "Oh, I'm Dark Maga. I've got the best meme game." Everyone hates you. You're a monster. No one wants anything to fucking do with you. People, I guarantee you, hundreds of thousands of people would have voted just to annoy Elon Musk. They probably wouldn't have voted. They probably wouldn't have given the slightest fuck who was on the Supreme Court. But they went, Elon Musk's a wanker. I'll vote for whoever he doesn't want me to vote for.
Yeah. Oh, do we have any comparisons for turnout based on usual turnout for elections for the judiciary?
I don't know about the turnout, but like I say, every single county, everyone in Wisconsin voted more for the Democrat. They're technically supposed to be independent or whatever, but the democratically aligned person,
Yeah, the endorsed candidate.
Yeah, rather than the Republican guy, who, by the way, is a fucking mentalist as well. I looked into him a little bit. He was cackling about a building falling on top of and killing his political rivals on stage. He was giving a speech in saying this. It wasn't secretly filmed. He was out in the open, actively being like, wouldn't it be hilarious if the building fell on top of those people and killed them? Psychopath.
What?
Absolute psychopath.
Jesus Christ.
But that's the GOP, man. That's what they are.
gentlemen,
That's exactly what they are.
victory is ours!
Oh shit, we've got shared chat. The fuck? Oh, is that what collaboration is? I don't know, this is the first time I've really done it. I did have a collaboration with Mad Cat Scotty, right, who's a lovely person, but batty as fuck, right? And I'm trying to get through to her. Like, she didn't realise that when she had the stream on, playing without my headphones, that I could hear myself back. So I was shouting at her, "You have to turn the stream off." And I could hear myself back through the headphone, or back through the microphone, of me saying, "You have to turn the fucking stream off." And I thought I was going to have a fucking aneurysm. I just... anyway, bless her. God bless her. But anyway, that's by the by. Yeah, hello everyone in the other chat. How are you?
Absolutely. Also, I brought this Peston tweet, which I think is quite funny, which is essentially saying that, thank you for the bits, Ket Morton, I appreciate it. After Starmer organising a military coalition of the willing, now they want to have an economic coalition of the willing, to champion free trade.
And that's going to go just as fucking well. Honestly, he is the most useless human being there has ever existed. He's fucking
He played a
shit.
blinder though, Kev.
He's played an absolute fucking blinder.
Blind, literally. And again, this is after we already cancelled the planned 2% digital services tax,
which is pathetic in of itself. And even then, it was like, "Oh no, 2%'s too much," and yet we don't get any benefit. Literally, what? Again, I genuinely want to sit down with them and be like, what did you achieve in this? You, Keir Starmer and David Lammy, are two top diplomats, right? You've spoken to the Americans. What did you actually achieve? How has your input to this made the situation better for the United Kingdom in any way?
I know, right? Literally, it's just all they've done is just piss off loads of their own voter base as well.
Yeah.
You know, given they have literally incinerated political capital to Eddie Davey. How?
Yes.
How can you be so bad at politics that you cede political capital to Ed Davey? How is this possible? How can anyone do this?
The man who launched his party's local election campaign by doing hobby horsing is a geostrategic genius compared to the current Prime Minister and Foreign Secretary. Honestly, I don't know how else best to sum up what a fucking joke of a place this is. Amazing, fucking incredible. Not just that, a man who failed to do hobby horsing properly as well.
Yeah.
He was like stepping over the thing. maybe Starmer needs to one-on-one him again in FIFA to get political tips from him from the chat room. I don't know.
Literally, you know, but he'll probably lose. He'll probably lose the 1v1 against Ed Davey on FIFA as well, you know.
Well, he'll negotiate at half-time by giving him 5 goals for nothing. Yeah. Amazing. Absolutely
Literally.
Well, again, I just want to reiterate, I want them to say, well, how the situation would have been worse had these two fuckers not been, like, I don't know, just not born or something. Like, if you weren't in government, how would the situation be worse for us?
Yeah, you can't imagine that it could have gone much worse, you know, because yeah, it's just they achieved nothing and all they did was humiliate themselves internationally.
Yeah, I suppose the only difference is if Kemi Badenoch had gone to Washington, Trump definitely would have thought she was like the tea girl. Like he'd have definitely just said some racist shit and gone like, "Yeah, I'll have a sandwich, please." Do you know what I mean?
You know full well he'd been super racist to her, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, when's the Prime Minister getting here, love? Like, you know what I mean? He definitely would have. Whereas when Keir Starmer turned up, he was like, "Oh, this looks like a boring cunt in a suit. Hello, Prime Minister." Yeah.
Oh, it's apparently Vivian Wilson, Elon Musk's daughter, advocating for class struggle, which I think is good. Although she says in her Teen Vogue article she was not a Marxist. Now it's just like, I love you, Vivian, but have you considered? Have you thought about it?
Yeah.
Have you? I can fix her.
I don't. Well,
Imagine, actually, Kevin. Good point from Ruben in chat. Imagine if Trump asked Kemi for a sandwich, then they'll be like Zelensky Part 2 electric boogaloo.
Exactly. She'd be like, "What are you, a puff? You have a fucking steak or you have nothing." All right. Yeah. Fair play. Oh, we've got.
Actually,
hang on. We've got for Wisconsin Supreme Court, the turnout. Oh god, the turnout was massively increased. Okay.
Literally, Elon Musk has prompted people to go and vote against him.
Elon, in the 2 years since 2023, 600,000 more people went out to specifically say fuck you to Elon Musk. $26 million he spent on that. To be absolutely embarrassed before the entire world. Well done, Elon. Masterful gambit.
I mean, if this is the case, right, then we need to be absolutely sticking Farage and Elon's faces together everywhere, you know?
Yeah,
if we want to beat them from the left, we have to make sure that the pictures of, Farage with Elon and Trump get plastered fucking everywhere, you know?
And, of course, the Tates, whenever they go on trial. Yeah. Yeah, look, you know what? You got in bed with the dogs, it's time for you to fucking get the fleas. He's had such an easy ride for so long. The British media have allowed him to get away with crazy shit, with allying himself with weird Nazis and doing fucking photo ops with fucking rapists, with literal rapists. We're taking the word of a rapist in order to stoke racial hatred, which caused a fucking race pogrom. Do you know what I mean? Like it needs to be fucking scrutinised correctly.
Yeah, very much so. So I was looking at my chat. Because I mean, it's just I just hope that this week we'll get the same effect in terms of our elections that the other elections have. You know, because obviously the Trump effect has screwed over Pierre Poilievre. It's screwed over Peter Dutton as well. It looks like Anthony Albanese is going to be the first prime minister since John Howard.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
To win back-to-back elections.
Yeah, which is pretty intense.
It's funny because Kevin Rudd won 2 elections, but they weren't back-to-back. There was a Julia Gillard interregnum.
And the Liberals had like 12 fucking prime ministers, so none of them had a chance to fight 2 elections.
It's funny because like one of their prime ministers, Malcolm Turnbull, he's just been non-stop posting about how much he thinks that Peter Dutton is a wanker, which I think is really funny to me.
Which is fair because he is. So yeah. What was I going to say? Fuck. Yeah, I suppose. I mean, this is the problem though. The Greens, whilst the numbers have improved, you can't say they've taken like a revolutionary jump forward.
No, I mean it's a slow burner, I guess, but we need to have stronger messaging, and that's what the Greens organised stuff is about. So,
Yeah. Mom, Dad, look at the handsome picture of me and Jack.
thank you, Satnav, for the 16 months of Prime.
Which one is you, Morton, and which one is the Jack Mellor? You're both absolute stunners, by the way, but I don't know what you look like.
Jack's one on the left, with Ellie Chowns as well.
Yeah, with Member of Parliament Ellie Chowns.
Excellent, based.
Yeah. No, good for you.
Thank you for joining the ranks. I'll be out campaigning for Frank Adlington Stringer in Derby on the 12th.
Well, yeah. Oh, cool.
Geo sent me an email going, "We'll bus you from Derby to wherever in the middle of nowhere Frank Adlington Stringer is campaigning in, and I will go and have a look."
Fair dues. Did you watch PMQs?
I didn't watch PMQ. Apparently, it's really boring.
It was.
Well, I was going to watch it right now, but
yeah, I watched the first couple of minutes and then I got distracted by Trump.
I was going to watch the Treasury Select Committee because Rachel Reeves apparently gets fucking roasted in it. But also, I realised that Mariana Mazzucato is on Peston tonight talking about the tariff war, which should be really interesting because she's like not an idiot.
Sounds good.
I don't know how we share this on this fucking collaboration thing without turning off the
without the sound. Yeah, that's annoying. I could just set up a thing and we can do it normally if you want.
I mean, what we could just set up, if you put me a Google link, a Google Meet link, and then just mute ourselves on Google Meet, both turn both our mics off on Google Meet. Use the mics from this so we get the chat together and just have.
Oh, I see. Yes, okay, I'm with you. Right.
Google Meet just for the sharing screen.
Okay, we can do that.
Or we could do Discord for that as well, whichever one works. But we use Meets for everything, so might as well use that.
Yeah. Also, Discord's a bit fucking temperamental. Whereas
It has been recently.
I basically don't have any problems with Google Meet, and it's free, so I don't give a fuck. Although you can.
Don't you pay like £2 a month for it?
You can if you got like if you do streams with various people all the time, but I don't.
Right.
I only stream with like one person at a time usually, so. Yeah. Where are we?
Can we get some Greens organised hype? We can get some Greens organised hype. Absolutely, they've been putting out loads of social media stuff. One of the people in our community has been doing some really good video content for Greens organised. Got another explainer coming out tomorrow about Rachel Reeves and her dodgy donations. I say dodgy, I mean they're legitimate donations, but they're donations that question her integrity. And so I'll keep a lookout for that. We're putting out loads of like digital content. It's gonna be good.
Good. I've been trolling the fuck out of what's his name, Wesley, asking him under every post, being like, "Why did you take money from private healthcare, you prick?" And I'm hoping just to get banned, but he hasn't banned me yet, which is very annoying.
To ask him why he burnt down a pet store.
Did he actually do that?
No,
but
some shit poster like memed that he did.
Oh, okay.
And then it just got like went viral. It's just like the crafty wank thing, just a random like lie that somebody told. Everyone just accepted.
No, he definitely crafty wank is real. I'm a crafty wank truther. Okay, that definitely did happen. And look at him. Just look at Darren. He looks like he's a crafty wanker.
If you go to the YouTube channel at ITV Peston, they stream that live on there.
Okie doke. Peston. There we go. Live. Okie doke.
So the British national interest is to be equidistant from Brussels and Washington, but neutrality may prove impossible in Trump's multipolar world where might is right. The thing is that as of tonight, the 10%
it's quite quiet on my end.
imposed on the UK
that's because it
is half the rate of that imposed on the EU. And Starmer and his colleagues are celebrating. They also hope that trade talks with
They're
Trump
celebrating
will give
this.
him exemption from even that lower tariff. Maybe naive, but it would
Unbelievably
not be
naive.
cost-free if that were to happen, because if an even more preferential arrangement was a reason for international businesses to invest more in the UK than in the EU, Brussels would almost certainly feel it has to retaliate by making it harder for UK businesses to sell to the EU's huge and important single market.
Whoa, hang on a minute.
Would suit.
That is a really important point that I just didn't pick up on throughout all of this discourse, and that is 100% right. And that's fucking that's miserable if that's true, because we trade way more with Europe than we do with America, and on top of that, democratically, everyone in the UK would rather we were trading with the EU than with America. Even Farage's constituents think that. I can't hear you, Kev.
Ah, that would be because I'd muted my fucking microphone because I needed to do a big burp. There you go. I'm a classy lassie. Anyway, I was saying, what was I saying? Oh yeah, that's why Farage has to downplay his like Trump dick suckery, because even though he's been to America to suck Trump's dick way more than he's ever been to Clacton, the people in Britain don't want that shit, which is why we need to play it up. We need to be like, every time he's pictured in any kind of leftist propaganda, Trump or Musk or whoever has to be there.
That's true. I think that's the thing as well, is that if this was Peston himself who put that tweet out that I was quoting before about the economic coalition, the willing, right, to champion free trade against Trump. Well, we can't be part of that if we want to negotiate a sweetheart deal with the Trump administration, right? It's either or. And if the longer we wait, the less likely people are going to want to let us into the house, right? Time is ticking on whether we want to decide to go with Europe or America, and you know full well that it's going to be the fucking Americans that we're going to have to. And this is the worst of everything. Fuck me.
And
I hate this government.
Once we've accepted the chlorinated chicken, we're then fucked in terms of trading with the EU. Because they're not going to allow the fucking steroid beef into their fucking markets. Sorry, beef.
And also, what would that mean for the fucking Good Friday Agreement? We've technically still got a bit of this country and part of the European Union.
Have we considered literally building a wall down the Irish Sea? It might be the only... Or here's a radical solution. Give it back to Ireland, you cunts!
I mean, that would also help. But, this is... There are some real implications about what, like, an international trade war between the EU and America with us stuck in the middle. That could lead to our domestic politics.
Yeah. It won't matter anyway. We're going to be living on Mars soon. Elon Musk told me last Tuesday, so it's fine. He'd be alright. Thank you, James Holmes, with 5 gifties. Much love!
Trump perfectly, because what he wants is loyalty, fealty. Beggar my neighbour is his game of choice, and it is irrational for the world to play by his rules rather than collectively agreeing punitive retaliatory tariffs, coordinated, that would force him to back down. So when it comes to this looming crunch, what will British Labour Prime...
The problem you have, and I agree that I would like us to show some fucking backbone and fight back, but in order to defeat Trump, we'll have to destroy ourselves as well. Like we have to engage in such a damaging and dangerous trade war that everyone would lose. And Trump doesn't care. Trump and his people want to watch the world burn. As long as the libs are pissed off, literally, they would happily have eggs be $1 million a piece. As long as the libs are unhappy. They don't care.
I mean, it's just quintessential right-wing politics, isn't it? Just, I want my enemies to be unhappy, and I don't give a shit about whether or not that I take away my stuff as well. It's just like all of the right-wingers in the UK and want to get rid of the European Convention of Human Rights to fuck over migrants, without realising that gets rid of their own rights as well.
Yeah. And this is the thing. The only way that'll change, like, is if they start rounding up white people and sending them to Venezuela.
The thing is, they'll be liberals and be white liberals, and they'll be part of the outgroup again. You know, endlessly fucking drawing the circle ever smaller until there are no outgroups left. You know.
Yeah.
Textbook fascism.
Thank you, Sozzled Snake. Which, with a comment that I think you will agree with. Chlorinated chicken would ruin Nando's. That's worth World War III, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Dixie chicken as well.
Yeah. What about chicken cottage though? Where you can get real halal.
Proper halal, bargain bucket, $6.99.
Yeah.
Prime Minister choose? Trump's protectionist authoritarianism
Surely, whoa,
or will
hang on a
Keir
minute.
Starmer
Surely, king of the Remainers, you know, the FBPE champion, Keir Starmer. Surely he wouldn't choose America over the EU, would he?
No.
Would he?
No. He definitely wouldn't do that. He wouldn't have scuppered a soft Brexit for his own political ends. No. He's a good boy. I like him.
Literally,
Play
you know.
the blinder.
Chat. Is this making Brexit work? Is this what this is?
Make Brexit work by making Europe so poor that we don't want to rejoin. Fuck yes.
wake up one morning with a start and remember that till recently he defined himself as a proud citizen of the European Union with all its unfashionable, multicultured liberalism. Honestly, I haven't got a clue. Anushka.
Thank you, Robert. It is, as Robert says, Liberation Day, according to Donald Trump. And let me show you...
They're so cringe. Liberation Day. Oh, God, you're
literally
such pathetic people.
all fucking Trumpist politics is performative. All of it.
Yeah.
Every single moment of it is performative. Because again, and I'm sorry to say this, I know this is like a bland opinion, but it's because his supporters are all fucking idiots. It's because they're all morons. They are all they're all stupid.
Yeah.
Like, they all haven't got a clue.
You just
know?
dangle the keys. Shiny, the shiny. Look at the shiny.
Literally. I'm sorry to go dark woke chat, but they're just idiots.
Yeah, I mean, they literally are, right? And you can't convince me otherwise, because as Trump and Elon Musk got everything that poor people in America rely on, and indeed middle-class people in America rely on, he'll go, look at the shiny, and that's it. That's all you need.
Stop it.
Like, literally,
Get some help.
The only true thing I think he's ever said was that he could go onto Fifth Avenue and shoot someone dead, and he wouldn't lose support.
Literally. I mean, it's identical to, I guess, the people with their sycophancy for Keir Starmer. I even said that you probably could kick a puppy live on TV and they still vote for him.
I don't think he's got as much of a following, but there are certainly some people who are like, well, that's to be fair, there are always going to be to use the James O'Brien phrase, the football fans of certain politics, right? The footballification.
True.
And that's never changed, really. I mean, there are politicians of the past that we both enjoy, let's say. But there's a difference between supporting the policy positions of a person and being sycophantic towards the person or the project or whatever.
That's the
problem, is that Keir Starmer, he's like a historical figure who said Abraham Lincoln. You can take Abraham Lincoln's early comments and say that he's pro-slavery, and then you can take the one later and say he's anti-slavery. With Keir Starmer, you can make him sound like a fucking socialist or like Maggie Thatcher, depending on which bits you want to believe, you know?
Well, what's the thing is that obviously we talk about like the cult of personality around either themselves or the policies. Well, that's the thing with the hashtag GTTO crowd, you know, like they were cultish and they were sycophantic towards his sensible vibes.
Adults in the room.
Literally, that was the singular thing they cared about him, was that he looked sensible.
Yeah, well, he's the king of the sensibles, you know.
Yeah.
Also, is it interesting to you as well as it is to me that as soon as noted friend of Jeffrey Epstein, Peter Mandelson, becomes the UK ambassador to America, the number one whistleblower, Miss Guthrie, of both Prince Sweaty Nance Boy and Peter Mandelson, has all of a sudden on her deathbed, having had an accident in a car.
Just a random number. Kitty.
Literally gotten Diana. She's been fucking Diana'd.
They've Diana
immediately.
Unbelievable.
Literally. Oh my god. And nothing will happen. It's
No.
just like with the Panama Papers where we all found that everyone was avoiding tax and it was this big conspiracy, and I was like, okay, that's happened. And then someone got car bombed, a journalist got car bombed.
Journalists got car bombed.
Nothing. Forgot about that. Forgot all about that.
Boeing literally killed a whistleblower last year.
Twice.
And they didn't
Twice.
bother.
They killed 2 whistleblowers.
Didn't bother. Look, you don't hear it in the news at all. But if you shoot one CEO dead, death penalty.
That's the thing, is like literally everyone notices this. Everyone notices that fucking liberal democracy is collapsing under its own weight, you know? Everyone and the voters are turning away from establishment parties and establishment politics. And yet, just all of our politicians think we can go back to normal. I'm like, unless you can acknowledge the whistleblowers being shot dead and the people testifying against the powerful being given 4 days to live, and journalists getting car bombed for uncovering conspiracies of tax fraud. Yeah. Like, unless you acknowledge this and think, well, no, maybe something has to change and tackle those vested interests, then you're just as complicit.
Absolutely,
you're just as complicit. Literally, like the level to which, you know, as Becca points out in chat, this woman was fucking sex trafficked. Yeah. Sex trafficked by definitely not any members of the royal family at all, you know. No. And had to go through it, had to deal with that for the whole life, and now she has potentially been murdered to keep her fucking quiet. Yep. You know, and it'll just water under the bridge, water under the international bridge. This should be an international incident. And she's like, well, but she's been hit by a car, whatever. Move on, next story. How am I outraged?
It's ridiculous, yeah. It's amazing how if you're inconvenient to the powerful, how unlucky you become. The amount of accidents these people have, it's crazy, isn't it? It's almost like it's not just Russia who kill their political opponents. Perhaps.
Oh yeah, exactly. Because we always told ourselves, "Oh, we're better than China. We're better than Russia. We have liberal democracies. We have all of these norms and institutions, and we've always had the rule of law be sacrosanct." I'm just like, where are the Boeing killers? Yep. Where are the Boeing whistleblower killers? What the fuck is happening to these people?
Dr. David Kelly definitely killed himself. That's what I say. Yeah. Just like Jeffrey Epstein himself. It was definitely suicide. 100%.
Yeah, it's so artificial. Everyone knows that these people got murdered because they exposed the powerful. We all know the system is rigged. Everybody can see it, and our politicians refuse to even acknowledge it. Yeah.
Hypernormalization, bitches. Get used to it.
Literally. Well, and this is why we're seeing demagogues everywhere.
Yep. Thank you, Trebor, for resubscribing. Happy Liberation Day, indeed. Thank you, Phil Dick.
Wallet inspection day.
Yeah. Depends who he shoots. Oh, that's about Trump, I guess. Thank you, Over the Story, with 1312 bitties, which, I mean, that's just a random number. That could mean anything, 1312. I don't know what that means. Yeah, we're on a hype train. If we get to the next level of the hype train, I will finger the international rule-based order, because it's fucking dead.
The return of the sausage.
Thank you, Sausage Snake, with 200 bitties.
A bit like when MLK accidentally headbutted a bullet.
Oh, Jesus. I'll repeat that because you won't have heard that. I think it's a coincidence, just like when MLK accidentally headbutted that bullet.
Yeah, exactly, you know.
Okay. True. So, sounds like a fucking conk line.
Honestly, we should get Dan Morgan to do all political coverage.
Yeah, 100%.
Part of his liberation list. On the left, the tariffs he claims countries impose on US exports. So you can see 67% in China, 90% in Vietnam.
See, look, where's the advantage? Where's the advantage in us only giving him 10%? Because we get 100% reciprocal. Everyone else gets like half. Look at those numbers. It's basically all half or thereabouts.
Yeah.
So why not just bump it up to 20% then? Fuck it. What's the point in us only being at 10%? We cucked ourselves out sideways.
But ours isn't 10%. Ours is 20%. VAT is 20%.
Yeah, but this is the way they've changed it. Like, he says VAT is a part, but it's not. The way they've put it together, because he literally, on the board it had like a brief description, and it was like tariffs on incoming goods, currency manipulation, I think was a part of it as well. Like, there were a couple of different things. Of which VAT wasn't one of them, because even Trump doesn't actually believe that VAT is a tariff, because it's not, obviously. Yeah, so where's the advantage? You know, we cooked ourselves out sideways, and we're just being fucked for it.
Yeah.
Fucking stupid. yeah, anyway, doesn't matter. Right, thank you, Treeball, for gifting 5 subs. Honestly, I'm going to suck you dry. And thank you, Professor Ritt, for resubscribing. 56 months. Is that...
Get help.
Yeah, get a lot of help. And also, I need to point that at me as well. I've been wasting my fucking time for 56 months. Honestly.
No, but I know. Wait, you spent the last 56 months be able to have your dad ask you how the internet is, and quite frankly, if anything is worth it, that is.
He still does. That's literally how my father asks for the new people. Hello, my father is a delightful Irish simpleton, and he doesn't understand the world of modernity or electricity, I think, and literally he grew up in a town where they didn't have street lighting. That, like, literally, he grew up in a fucking Dickens novel, by the sounds of it. Anyway, and so he asks me for my work, which you hear is, I'm a streamer. And he says, how's the internet going? And I have to answer that like it's not the most contemptible boomerism ever.
Hang on a minute. America have charged... funny, 49% tariff on Cambodia, I think is really funny. Like, what the fuck are they buying from Cambodia? But they've also got a fucking 37% tariff on Bangladesh. Bitch, that's where all your clothes get made.
Yeah, like, again, Trump doesn't seem to actually understand what tariffs are or how they operate. Like, his press secretary literally tried to say it was a tax cut for the people of America. Hang on, they've got 17% on Israel.
Yeah.
That's just their own money back. What? What the fuck are Israel? Like, you might as well just not bother. It's your money either way. What the fuck? Oh no, they're going to have to cut back on the Iron Dome.
Also, they got 48% tariff on Laos.
The Marshall Islands, 78%. Fuck them. Unbelievable.
44% on Myanmar, 47% on fucking Madagascar.
Madagascar.
I guess DreamWorks Studios are fucked.
Yeah, exactly. Those fucking animals. What are they going to do now? No one's going to be able to afford to go to see the movie because that's the only thing that Madagascar does. Thank you for 100 bits, Marcus. Yeah, much love. Yeah. Anyway, let's try and get through some of this.
6% in Japan, 10% for us, and around half for most, or the minimum 10% on the right. We're going to be drilling into those numbers. Not everyone agrees with Trump's...
Could you try not to come as you describe global economic catastrophe, please? How excited is she? We're going to dig into the numbers about how fucked you are.
Also, apparently, before this announcement, Israel reduced their tariffs on all American goods to 0 in the hopes they would avoid tariffs, and they would live with higher tariffs than us.
I mean, to be fair, that's A, very funny, and B, shows how cooked America are, that they ever gave... They've been giving billions to Israel, and Israel have still been tariffing them. I assumed it was free trade, because, like, they literally... they pay for you to exist. You don't make anything. It's a fucking desert landscape. You don't do anything there. You don't make money. America gives you money. That's the only reason Israel is a financially viable state. And you still fucking import tariffs on them. Cheeky cunts, man. Fucking hell.
This is all fucking hysterical.
This is mental.
Oh, dear.
This is mental.
Calculations, but the responses are, of course, what we would expect. So, we are at the bottom, the minimum. But
yeah, we are at the bottom in so many ways. Yes, yeah.
It isn't special treatment for us at all.
No, it really isn't.
Downing Street are saying that they are going to remain calm. It is painful, but they hope to.
Oh God, he did this at fucking PMQs. Every time he was asked about this, we're going to remain calm and do peaceful. He literally thinks he can vibes his way out of this. He literally thinks he can do a sensible adults in the room with fucking Trump. A man who literally, it's all computers. Like, what the fuck are you... How do you possibly hope that that's going to work with him? You fucking dopey cunt. You're going to get us fucking killed.
Literally.
single countries, the US is our biggest trading partner, less than the EU in total, but we sold £182 billion worth of goods and services to the US in the most recent year recorded. These are our top 5: aircraft, scientific instruments, mechanical power, generators, medical and pharma, but our biggest export, £8.3 billion in cars, which actually have their own separate new rate.
Yeah, just 25% on our biggest export to America. Again, can I just ask Keir Starmer, how would the situation have been worse if you'd not been there? Like, if you'd had a heart attack and died, how would our situation be worse?
The return
You
of the
useless
sausages.
bastard.
We gave Trump a dinner date with King
Oh, to be fair,
Sausage
to be fair, they haven't
This
tariffed.
is when
There's only
democracy
attempts to
dies.
tariff just on, at least our biggest thing, which is Games Workshop, only a 10% tariff. You know, if you'd
That's
imposed a
fair
special 25% tariff on plastic figurines, we'd be really in the shitter.
That is true. If he puts a fucking tariff on the Peaky Blinders, we're fucked.
25% tariff, which the IPPR think tank says could impact on 25,000 jobs in manufacturing. Beyond that,
I didn't realise we had 25,000 jobs in Britain. When did they appear? I thought we were just like no one had a job. It was all just fucking Uber. It was just Uber Eats deliveries, wasn't it?
show you this from the National Institute of Economic and Social Research. They modelled different scenarios. This is the percentage change in GDP. That is the zero line across there. This was their best case scenario, where he put 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico, 20% on China and nothing on us. This was the worst case, 10% on all goods with retaliation, 60% on China. You can see here that the worst case would have been
There's not going to be
2.6%
retaliation.
down in GDP by year 3, still a percent down
That is a
10
stiff
years
poop.
on. Economist Ahmet Kaya, who did this, says we don't have all the details, but he thinks we are only slightly better than that worst case scenario.
Well, gripping us.
Thanks, Kia. Really, you again, another blinder, another fantastic success. We're only slightly better than the worst possible case. Oh, for fuck's sake. We're not even circling the drain anymore. We're halfway down the fucking sewage.
literally, which is ironically getting pumped into the Thames as we speak.
We're just one of the floaters at this point.
Slightly depressing stuff, Anushka. So I just want to ask both of you. I'll start with Dawn. In government, they are genuinely slightly celebrating that the tariff on the UK, the across-the-board one, is only, in inverted commas,
Keir Starmer, is there anything he and his people understand or know about the world? Because, like, the idea that you would be celebrating this, you are shit. And you know what? I look forward to your destruction. Fuck you.
Literally, it's the bargain hunt meme. It's literally the bargain it's literally the bargain hunt meme. Like the £2 profit, and then the two people like you getting really happy in the
Going
background.
mental,
you know?
yeah. Yeah, unbelievable. I literally had this moment cross my mind in PMQs. It was a Scottish. Well, actually, I think they're English, but they represent a Scottish seat because again, parachuted in. A Labour MP, and they were having to go at the SNP for something, and I was like, motherfucker, you voted for all of these evil things. You deserve to lose your seat, and I will celebrate you losing your seat. At least in part because in Scotland they won't be losing to Reform, so there's no like backlash to it or anything, which is nice. Whereas unfortunately, there are going to be loads of shithouse MPs in England who would be like, yay, Wes Streeting lost, or not Wes Street because that's independent, but like Angela Rayner lost their seat, woo, but it's to Reform. Oh shit!
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
it's a bittersweet one.
% compared to 20% on the EU. Is that a reason to celebrate?
Well, I suppose the official line is yes, it is, right? 10% is half.
I'm asking you what you think, though. That's the official line, but what do you think?
Let me just get through. So 10%.
Also, Liam has no game. You make an interesting joke, but not apt on this occasion, because Hooters literally just filed for bankruptcy. So we don't import that either. So yeah.
Is half of 20. So yes, but I really do think that Trump isn't the kind of person that you can rely on or do business with. He isn't a statesman. He isn't, I mean, I had to listen to his speech because I was coming on this show.
He is a man from the States, so you're wrong about that. Statesman, you see? Oh, God, I'm clever.
That gave me a bit of a headache, and then Robert was doing his impression that's given me another headache. And
it's a treat to look forward to.
And I do feel that at some point we are going to have to stand up to him, because he gives all of this rhetoric. I mean, he says Liberation Day. I don't really think that we should be following him in saying that. I mean, the American people are going to be liberated from their hard-earned savings because their prices are going to go up and they're going to feel it in their pockets. And I don't think we should be calling it Liberation Day.
I mean, Robert, the position of
one
the
thing on
British
top of this
government-
too, like we all mock Keir Starmer for, and his supporters really, for the FBPE crowd, for the fact that he said he was going to be the pro-Remain guy, that he was going to defend free movement, and then became Mr. Make Brexit work as soon as he'd won the leadership election, and then got into government and said that we don't have no relationship with the EU other than just a different trading relationship maybe, but no rejoining the EU at all. We now have the literal perfect moment to justify wanting as close relationship as we can with the EU, to try and rejoin, and also such a geopolitical nightmare scenario like we're seeing at the moment would be the perfect time to try and rejoin and go, well, come on, just give us the deal that we had, mate. Look, think about the combined military power we'll have against Russia if we rejoin, you know? You want access to that? You want access to that, don't you, Ursula? Don't you? Yeah, you know you want that. They're like, yeah, go on. You can come back and you can have a sweetheart deal. Let bygones be bygones. Forget the last 9 years, right? Now would be the perfect time to negotiate the best deal possibly could by rejoining the EU, and that's far in the rearview mirror because Keir Starmer is committed to not doing that.
Yeah, but okay. I'm glad you went down that route, because I was about to say that scenario you outline is sounding like the FPPE version of the "once we leave, we'll have all of the cards." You know, that thing.
I mean,
because they're not going to give us that deal. They're just not.
I mean, that's what things they would never go. There was never a chance that was going to happen, right? But now is the one time where it could happen theoretically. You know?
Yeah, theoretically.
Because again, for the points I raised before, you know, the EU would want access to our military in a joint kind of combined military power in the time when they feel geopolitically threatened by Russia, and they'd want us economically with them to fight against America. It would be within the EU's interest to give us a good deal to convince us to rejoin right now. There'll be no other time when that would happen. Like if Kamala Harris had won the election, there'll be no chance of that. It now is the one time where maybe that would be on the cards, and the chance of that happening on the British side is literally zero.
Or we'd at least be able to, like, maybe not have to join the euro or something, because that really, like, even Schengen, I don't think would be that much of a stumbling block. Whereas joining the euro would be just that's why realistically, even if it happened again, I think the vote would go the way it did, because people don't want to join the fucking euro. They just don't, you know.
And so it'd also be terrible. It'd be terrible getting rid of our monetary sovereignty.
Yeah, that would not be great. As we've seen from places like Ireland, who have been fucked over because of the financial necessity of the Germans or the French. Yeah. Thank you, Sozzled Snake, with Bitty Bits. We gave Trump a dinner date with sausage fingers. This is when democracy dies. Well, I mean...
King meets king.
Considering it's a king, didn't democracy not really live in the first place? Anyway, but thank you. And thank you to Why Would Historian for gifting a sub to Aspiring Ally, who is Joe, who is a fucking cop. Not really, they're not actually. Yeah, thank you for the hype train. Choo choo.
Wake Up asks, not sure if the EU want Britain back, puzzled. I mean, they do what they said from the start they wanted us back, you know?
Why wouldn't
they said that Donald Tusk said the door was open for us to rejoin anytime they wanted. They were sorry to see us go, you know? That's the thing. If you read like European, yeah.
Sorry, go on. No, go on.
I was gonna say, like, if you read like EU papers and things like Le Monde, like their reaction to Brexit wasn't anger and it was pity. They thought we were stupid and that we just destroyed our own economy for no reason. They weren't like excited to see us leave.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, financially, it makes so much sense because the only real financial backers of the EU project right now are France and Germany. In terms of serious cash, there are other countries that make a contribution, of course, but they're not like they could disappear tomorrow and it wouldn't make that much difference. Whereas with Britain there, it shares the kind of load, as it were. It shares the weight of that in a way that they can't really replace. But there you go.
So, Joe Gibbs, thanks for digging this one up. There's a quote from the business secretary, Jonathan Reynolds. There is no better country placed than the UK to strike a deal with Donald Trump to lift tariffs and dodge a damaging tit-for-tat trade war with the US. No country better placed than the UK. I mean, again, that's the Brexit benefit they're looking at here. And I'm just like, but I don't want this. I want better relationships with everybody else, thanks.
Yeah, also, like, how does his cock taste? Is it nice? Is it yummy? Yeah? Cool. Prick. Honest to God, this government are fucking awful.
Publicly and privately in negotiations with America is we are not discriminating against Washington and America. And so, you know, there is an argument that says, you know, we've just been mugged, that there was no reasons for us to pay this tariff, and we're celebrating because the guy next to us, the EU, has been mugged for even more.
Precisely my point. But let's not forget, Robert, this isn't about Trump's foreign policy. This is a domestic policy. Donald Trump thinks that he can offset funding from tariffs by reducing federal tax. That's what it's all about. It's all about the domestic agenda that he knows he's trying to balance the books on the backs of tariffs. And yet, of course, this is a man who knows no history because tariffs cost those who can least afford it the most.
And they slow growth. You know, you have to look at, you know, Smoot Hawley in the 1930s contributed to the Great Depression.
So does VAT. It didn't stop you raising it, did it, Buckland, you prick?
True!
Just saying. But
he may not raise the money.
Thanks for the Lib Dems. We did get that 5p bag tax, so we're okay.
Literally.
Because we may be moving into...
But he's changing the history of that, doesn't he? He mentioned the Great Depression and he didn't relate that to the fact that it was tariffs.
Look, I think he's digging his own economic grave. I think he's digging the Republican Party into a massive problem. This is not good news for the US economy, not good news for the world economy, and they will be punished for this because he was voted in on the belief that he would improve people's incomes and the economy. This is going to achieve the opposite.
And part of Trump's strategy, he says, you're going to feel the pain. It sounded a bit like the Brexit debate. You're going to feel the pain and you'll feel it in 6 months, you'll feel it in a year, but just keep waiting. And I think we do a real damage if we allow him to just get away with what he's saying.
So much more I need to talk to both of you about. We've, however,
also,
got Red David.
Sorry to go back to the EU again. Sorry to continue bringing up the EU, right? But I just want to make a point here, a broader point, which is that fundamentally, you know, it is the biggest enemy of leftism, of the left wing broadly, is American imperialism, American hegemony, American unipolar politics, you know, and what that commands over the global south and its status as the reserve currency. This is the one chance. This is the biggest chance that the left internationally has ever had to end that forever, you know? And if, you know, left-wing people generally not really like the European Union historically. There's never been someone that the left have been fans of.
Yeah.
The Bens or the Wilsons of this world have been fans of the EU. But, and here's my butt point, like, and I understand loads of people, leftists, communist, socialists in my audience, don't like the EU. I have mixed opinions myself, right? But the best way of being able to kill American imperialism stone dead, to end its dominance over the international geopolitical and economic sphere, is by having unity of everybody against America, and that should involve us being as close with the EU as possible, right? It's choose your enemy time, not choose your friend time, and I think this is the best kind of like marginal utilitarian position for the left to take, is to bite the bullet and be unequivocally pro-EU, given what's happening in America at this point. Despite everything, with what we've seen from the EU.
We need to join BRICS. Simple as that. Okay? Russia, Brazil, UK, Turkey, China. It'd be perfect.
Okay. Get some lovely picks between Keir Starmer and Cyril Ramaphosa. Although what I really want is the EFF to win the next African election, and then for Keir Starmer to have to do like awkward trade relationships with Julius Malema.
Oh, that would be amazing. Oh, yes. Please make Keir Starmer sign something in front of a fucking sign that says kill the Boers. Oh, God. Oh, that would be so sexy. Although, hopefully, what will happen is that Keir Starmer will get an arrest warrant from the ICC as well, and he'll travel to South Africa and be arrested and sent to the fucking Hague.
It'd be great. It'd be great if Julius Malema and Keir Starmer have to do a conference together, because it'll be like what a radical Marxist-Leninist revolutionary, and still more pro-LGBT than Keir Starmer is.
Yeah, true. Unironically true. Imagine if Julius Malema was like, "Why are you treating trans people like that? That's fucking out of order."
literally. We will impose 25% tariffs on you unless you give the kids their hormones back.
True.
Dan's waiting for us. Very good
Oh
to see
God!
you.
Oh no!
Defender of liberalism.
Literally the most advanced political theoretician in Parliament, Ed fucking Davey.
The bulwark, Ed Davey, the bulwark for the liberal order. Fucking how has it come to this? How are we here?
21st century fucking Gladstone. Let's go.
Sir Ed, the government
Sir Ed.
believes that the fact that we've got the minimum 10% tariff versus 20% for the EU, higher still in Japan, higher still in China, vindicates their approach of wooing the American president. Are they right?
No.
Well, you can see why number 10 might want to try to celebrate, but it looks like a bit of a hollow victory. We're still seeing 10% tariffs on all our exports to the United States and 25% on our car industry, which is our largest exporter to the United States. So that's going to damage British business and damage our economy, put up prices.
Is he literally falling asleep? Like, I know it's late, but he can barely keep his fucking eyes open.
Reduce growth. And the tariffs on other countries, whatever they are going to wash up on our shores, because that's how trade works. So I think
maybe
this will be
high as fuck.
very bad news for our country and for people watching. And I do think that we do need a different approach. Sure, engage with the White House, but he's not a reliable ally, as Dawn Butler was saying. And I think there's an alternative. I think we could, for example, be rebuilding our trading relationship with the European Union.
Liberal Democrat bingo. There you go, everyone. Fuck yes. FBPE, rise up.
Customs Union to offset the damage and to grow our economy and show to Trump we have an alternative. I think we could be working with our Commonwealth allies, with Canada, Australia, New Zealand and others. And I think that...
Ew, those are white people places. I don't fucking deal with them.
We ought to be thinking about an economic coalition of the willing. We saw the Prime Minister do a pretty good job with a military coalition of the willing against President Putin. I think now...
How did he? What are you talking? Oh, God, he's literally he played a blinder. No, he didn't. He didn't do anything. Like, he looked a bit like a statesman for 5 minutes, and then his plan instantly fell to pieces because it was reliant on an American government that wasn't going to do anything. And the military coalition that, if it had ever stepped foot in Ukraine, would have started a fucking nuclear war. You prat. God, I hate liberals sometimes, man. Fucking hell.
Starmer should therefore overcome his resistance to retaliation, talk to Mark Carney in Canada, talk to the EU, and basically coordinate among the rich democracies, bring in Japan, South Korea, and say collectively, we will now threaten a common rate of tariff on America in the hope that that would force Trump to back down.
Well, I certainly think that it should be on the table. We need to bring all those countries together because this is going to impact the whole world economy, let's be clear. But another way of doing it isn't just talking about retaliatory tariffs, it's talking about increasing the free trade amongst ourselves. That's why Liberal Democrats back a return to a UK-EU customs union. That would stimulate growth, but we should be looking at other trade deals with other allies and speeding that process up. We need to protect free trade. If we don't stand up and don't come together and don't make it clear to the White House that this is bad for America, bad for the rest of us, we could lose the argument on free trade for a generation. And given free trade has created the prosperity that so much of the world enjoys, it took China out of poverty, it can be such a force for good.
Nothing to do with the public works projects or anything now? The mass transit system, the high-rise housing? No, just the free trade. Okay, cool.
If properly regulated and worked through in proper deals, it would be such a tragedy if we lost that for the world economy and for the living standards of everyone in the world.
I mean, one of the things that I think is a genuine fear is if the British government continues to go down this very much individualistic path, and let's just say, you know, it ends up actually getting significantly lower tariffs still from this.
Won't. What the fuck? Oh, what is this fucking stupidity? What is this stupidity that they insist we're going to get this great fucking deal? Again, is that the British equivalent of the shiny? Don't look at reality, just look at the shiny. Thank you, Sossel Tonight, for gifting us up. Much love.
This base significantly lower than, let's say, the EU. At that point, you could argue the EU would have a problem with us, because at that point we're sort of making ourselves a magnet for global investment, and they may then see us as an unfair competitor.
The Tories are going to get what they wanted. They always wanted us to become an offshore tax haven just off the shore of the EU, and they're going to get it via a Labour government. I'm so glad we got the Tories out. Honestly, amazing.
Barriers put up with our most important trading partner, which is the EU single market.
Yeah, I fear there's a lot in that. I fear that President Trump wants to divide and rule. And he wants to divide us from our European neighbours. He wants to divide people across the world. I don't know if this is the case, but I've heard in some of the news wires that he's not put tariffs on Russia, but has put them on Ukraine. Now, I don't know whether that would
That's amazing. Oh, for fuck's sake. That's mental. That's fucking mental. Honestly, he's a fucking lunatic, this guy, isn't he? But tariffs on a country being bombed. Fucking hell. That is. Oh, Jesus Christ. Hang on, I had to calm down. Fucking hell. That's the most mental policy yet. That's the best one yet. Fucking genius, this lad. Oh.
True, but it suggests that this is a very weird policy. And I think we do have to watch out in the way you said that if we allow President Trump to push forward with a divide and rule strategy, that could damage the UK in quite a serious way. So it's really important we work with our other trade allies in Europe, in the Commonwealth.
Did North Korea not get any tariffs? So he's tariffed South Korea and not North. Wow. I didn't realise that Comrade Trump was a big fan of the Duce ideology. I for one, am surprised about that. Kim Jong-Trump doing his thing. Fucking genius. Has Helena just disappeared? I don't know. I don't want to pry into private matters.
In Asia, to say we won't take divide and rule, we will stand forward for what were traditionally American values of free trade and open trade.
And how a number of Brexiters have been in touch with me, saying this is the first tangible manifestation of what a great thing they say.
We don't need to speculate, chat. Fucking hell. You people are degenerates.
The EU, that we've got a much lower tariff rate than the EU. What would you say to those people?
Well, if they think it's a good idea to have extra higher tariffs on our exports, if they think it's a victory for Brexit that we've now got 25% tariffs on our car exports to the United States, they live in a very different world from my world.
I
and
put
from
it
the
to
world
sleep.
of,
Yeah, fair
the
enough.
British people. This could result in higher inflation, higher interest rates, lower growth, lower living standards. And if Brexiteers are celebrating that, well, I think that tells you all about their analysis. I fear that the poor trade deal...
I genuinely can't wait to see what O'Brien's take is going to be on this, because I presume he's going to do the client journalism thing of like, oh, Starmer's played an absolute blinder. He'll be 20 points clear this time next week. Is what I imagine. Be funny either way.
Johnson signed with the European Union has hit our economy already very badly. Already prices are up, growth is down, because the Brexit trade deal by Boris Johnson was so poor. And in a way, though, it gives us a way out of the Trump threat. You know, let us rebuild that trading relationship, starting with a customs union that could have a real boost to our trade and to our growth, and show to the world that we want to work with people. We're not going down the President Trump route of divide and rule and forgetting all the lessons of history that Robert and Dawn were talking about.
Ed, great to see you. We'll catch up with you again soon. And I want to turn to Mariana Mazzucato, distinguished economics professor. Can we just start with the single economic argument that Donald Trump made today in the Rose Garden, in which he claims that in putting these tariffs on the rest of the world, he will attract investment to the US, and that over time more factories will be built and more jobs will be created. Is there anything to that argument?
So what's interesting is that he's focusing on the problems that the U.S. is facing, but he's looking at the wrong culprit. He hasn't even talked, for example, about the huge problems in the U.S. corporate governance structure, which over the last 30 years has represented a lack of reinvestment into the workforce, the kind of very high...
Why would he? He's literally fucking owned and paid for by Elon Musk. Why the fuck would he give a shit about that?
And it's interesting to point out the fact that, you know, investing in the workforce is something that even Democrats haven't done. I mean,
that's also...
Biden was like first person to kind of reverse this. Also, I'm back, by the way. Like, Biden kind of reversed this by, you know, championing the National Labor Relations Board, having Lena Khan as the chair of the FTC. Like, it was a slight move to the left in that regard, and running like full employment macro. But, you know, Obama championed himself in like the post financial crisis world as the person who would fix things for working people, and he did the fucking opposite and bailed out all of the banks, you know. So I mean, it's unusual in the last, you know, 45 years of American capitalism to reinvest back into the workforce. So she's right to point it out. Did I miss anything from the leader of the free world?
Davey, not really. He was just being a kind of melty liberal twat. Not necessarily evil.
This is his industrial strategy before Biden came onto the scene. But also
again, why would he give a fuck about that? He is a CEO. He hasn't even divested from his companies, unlike fucking peanut farmer. What you call it? Elon Musk, his co-president, is also a CEO of like a dozen companies. They want the CEOs to earn more. That's their entire bit. That's why they're doing what they're doing.
Use of financialized instruments like share buybacks, over $7 trillion. That's a lot of money over the last 10 years have been used by the large corporates in the U.S. just to buy back their shares. He hasn't even addressed that. He's acting as though it's the tariffs.
Therefore, I mean, just, you know, I mean, I feel because I think this
Eleanor, I'm being told your stream died.
Oh, apparently it's back now, according to Solly, if you refresh.
Okay, F5, everyone.
Going to be a lot of criticism of Trump and his policies tonight. Do you think anything positive will be done in terms of job creation by these policies? Because obviously there's a lot of harm, and we'll get onto that. But
so tariffs sometimes make sense. That they only make sense if they are very strategic and they are about things like the so-called infant industry.
Yeah, targeted. So you protect domestic industries, and as she's about to point out, newer industries that are delicate, fragile little saplings that need to be protected. Okay, fine. But Trump's not doing that. He's just like 60% everything. Fuck yeah. Singapore 25%. Who cares? Like it's just fucking. silly hatchet job economics.
Well, that's you're supposed to like put in seed money into the industries you want to grow by protecting with the tariffs within industrial strategy, which is what Biden was fucking doing with the Inflation Reduction Act. And there was one of the first executive orders was to cancel the Inflation Reduction Act.
Unbelievable. I can't believe that the IRA have fallen to cancel culture. Unbelievable.
Incredible. So also apparently somebody on Twitter has cracked the code as to how they calculated the tariffs.
Go for it.
So apparently it's the trade deficit divided by the exports, right?
Right. That sounds
so
ridiculous.
Literally. So for example, you take Israel, exports 22.2, imports 14.8. So that's a deficit of 7.4. 7.4 over 22.2 is 33%, which is why they got a 33%, like a 33% tariff.
Okay. Fucking absolutely ludicrous. Absolutely
very silly.
Ludicrous. Thank you for the shout out, No Justice MTG. That happened apparently. Everyone go and follow No Justice MTG.
A reason where you're trying to actually develop a sector and you will accompany the tariff with an active industrial strategy in that area. What has Trump done around U.S. industrial strategy? He's getting rid of it. He's getting rid of, for example, the CHIPS Act, which was all about getting sovereignty around chips production because almost all chips are made in Asia.
And just for viewers out there, what we're talking about is the semiconductors that are
just to translate, in Britain, that's called the CRISPS Act. In case anyone was wondering. Thank you.
Central to everything from these phones to, you know, where America was massively behind.
I'm now being told there's no sound on your end.
Well, yeah, I can't fit. I mean, like, people were saying in the comments, but obviously they can't hear me if they're on Twitch, so I can't tell them anything.
Well,
like,
you can.
People keep saying. People keep saying. People keep saying, "There's no sound. There's no sound." Well, how am I supposed to respond to you if you can't hear me?
In the chat.
I mean, I don't have the chat open. It's on my. It asks you to sign in. There are quite additional permissions to send messages in the chat from Streamlabs. And it won't let me sign in for some reason whenever I try and open it. So if you want, I mean, you can come to YouTube or you can watch it on Kev's end. I can't restart. I can't restart the stream again, and I can't because it's streaming on YouTube as well, and I can't fix the sound by magic. So you can watch on YouTube or on Kev's Twitch, but I can't communicate with you
because you invited me on, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, cool, I'll do a thing. And now, like, people are just, like, your chat's coming into my stream now, and I feel bad. I don't want to steal people.
I think I'll still be able to see them, because we've got the shared chat. I'll still be able to see the messages, though, so...
Well, yeah, but algorithmically, that doesn't help you. I don't want this to... I don't see this as a competition, goddammit. Look, I've already accepted. You just do random... You just stream with Ash Sarkar, and it's not a big deal, okay? You're going to be the biggest star in the history of the world. And I don't need to be competing because I'll lose. Fact.
I'm destined for greatness. Transition to greatness. Wiener is gone.
Jesus Christ. Hello there, Vale.
So I'm going to get cancelled like Philosophy Tube.
Vale for me. You can hit the follow button if you're new here. I'll steal you from No Justice. I don't mind. Talking about being cancelled and stuff. I made a little joke on Twitter. You know, they've passed this Riley Gaines Act.
Ladies and gentlemen,
about something about fucking trans kids doing sport or whatever. And I just happened to mention that she's the most clockable cis person I've ever seen.
I know, right?
She's got the jaw like a fucking heavyweight boxer. Are you joking me? But, you know, apparently that's bad.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got her. Victory
and I don't think it is. I think bad people need to be insulted more. We've seen, unfortunately,
dark woke. We're in the dark woke era.
We are. I'm not taking fucking prisoners anymore. Okay.
For example, in manufacturing.
Well,
and they had an industrial strategy to try and get some of that manufacturing
exactly
back.
And he was right today when he said we used to be the kings of the world. I actually wrote a book about that, The Entrepreneurial State. Everything in your smartphone there was actually financed through procurement strategy and other types of mechanisms by the U.S. government, the internet, GPS, touchscreen, Siri, right? So then you needed a company like Apple to put it all together into a cool phone. But what we've seen over the last years is that we actually haven't had an active U.S. industrial strategy. And that's what Biden was trying to bring back through programs like the CHIPS Act. So what's interesting is that these tariffs could have had the effect that Trump tonight argued, had they actually been part of a U.S. strategy that would have accompanied the tariffs in particular sectors with an industrial strategy, which actually he's currently decimating.
Now, everybody agrees that for the world as a whole, this will put up prices, it will slow growth.
See, like, it's just, it's so frustrating to me that Joe Biden has to be a fucking genocidal maniac, you know?
Yeah.
Like, but by all means, criticize all the shit things that he did when he was president, that he could, like, fucking all of the things with the Senate parliamentarian and the rotating villain and failure on student debt and being terrible with the Supreme Court and stuff like that. But when it came to macro policy, full employment, higher wages, trade union bargaining, the FTC, like, it was the kind of economic policy that people actually would have liked if he didn't happen to be in charge when the inflationary problems happened because of the pandemic just happened to happen when he was in government. It's just so tilting to me.
And the fact that he was like, he didn't know what day of the fucking week it was. Didn't help.
Well, it's probably why the policy ended up not being too bad, because he was in charge of literally none of it, because he was basically didn't know where he was half the time. Apparently he couldn't prepare. He failed to be cognizant for any of the debate practice that he did in the run-up to the election.
Of course
Any.
not. Yeah,
literally none of them.
Fucking
This should be a scandal that ends like the centrist control of the Democratic Party, that they allowed him to run again.
But don't worry.
And they allowed him to do the first debate after knowing he couldn't do it.
Cory Booker stood up for a long time, so it's all fixed.
Yeah. And at no point mentioned the genocide in Gaza that Donald Trump is actively escalating.
And you know why that is?
I guess he couldn't do that because Biden did the same thing.
You know why that is? It's because his rabbi is literally Rabbi Shmuley Batayak.
You're fucking joking.
The titty football guy.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Pretty big challenge to prosperity for a while. The approach of the British Prime Minister is to woo Donald Trump, try and get a special trade deal for the UK that could see even lower tariffs and preferential treatment. Somebody like Mark Carney is saying you've got to have retaliation. The EU is talking about retaliation. Which is the right approach?
So, I mean, I agree with what was just said by both Don Butler and Davey in terms of we need a coordinated strategy. The UK is way too small to think it can go it alone. And even any sort of preferential tariff it gets might not be stable, because we know that President Trump is very unstable. So to think about a coordinated strategy in this time...
Just in case anyone thought I was making that up. I most assuredly was not. Here we go, Cory Booker. Who is, I didn't even realise was a Jewish man, to be honest, but there we go. Cory Booker's rabbi has notes, Rabbi Shmuley Batayak, who helped launch the senator's career and taught him thousands of hours of Torah.
Incredible.
Literally the mentalist who you'll have seen on Piers Morgan. Screaming about them cutting off tits and playing football with them on October 7th. Yeah, that guy. I wonder why Cory Booker didn't mention the genocide at all. That was crazy.
No.
Crazy talk. Anyway, where were we?
When Keir Starmer was anyway trying to reinvigorate, the kind of global dimension of Britain after Brexit. He had his Churchill moment, with Ukraine. We almost need that same kind of moment right now in terms of reacting to Trump. Not necessarily talking about trade wars and punching and retaliating, but actually looking at our partners, Europe, Canada, but also some of the BRICS countries where, we're about to have a G20 hosted by...
Yeah, let's see. Matagato's BRICS pilled. Let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah. That was a full-throated endorsement of Britain joining BRICS.
By South Africa, a COP, the big climate meeting hosted by Brazil. We actually are living through a moment where some of those countries in the so-called global South are actually rising in terms of their voice of what should be happening in 21st century capitalism.
We've got to go to break in a minute, but therefore on that basis, let's say we are able to put together a so-called coalition of willing, might be a common tariff all with the US, but it might just be freer trade between us. We've seen today, for example, huge tariffs imposed on India, massively important, fast-growing economy. South Africa. Do you think...
I feel bad because Narendra Modi went over there and debased himself really embarrassingly and has returned to India and gone, oh, I'm fucking amazing. Look at me. I was hanging out with Trump. And Trump's just gone, 60% tariff. Fuck you.
Well, yeah, because apparently this is all done mathematically. Like, literally none of this was about debasement. None of this was about friends or alliances. They've just plugged some trade numbers into a calculator and shat out some numbers and plastered them on a billboard and you fucking held it up at a presidential speech like he was Bruce Forsyth and play your cards right.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Higher,
lower?
Higher or lower than 60%? 60%, 60%, 50%, yeah.
Nice to see you, nice. But not too nice to see you if you're from one of those countries with a big trade deficit. No, we don't like to see you, no.
Everyone thinks it's nice to see me. Bigly. People have never been so happy to see me.
Literally, the UK have got our Donny bonus. That's what we've got.
A Donny bonus. Oh, please. The memes are funny, but it's also very depressing. It's nice to tariff unite.
Tariff unite. Well, that's literally it. Like, there was no reason at all whatsoever for engaging in any amount of self-debasement to try and win over Trump to get some kind of leniency on tariffs, because they've not even factored geopolitical relationships into account when calculating these tariffs. Hence why Israel has a bigger tariff than us.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. But we're still treating it like it's a serious thing. Because again, transatlanticism is a fucking hell of a drug, clearly. Also, I want to get inside the head of the Americans trying to work out what the fuck we were doing with our Bruce Forsyth references. My audience is long suffering.
That's the thing as well is that, somebody's pointing out in my chat that Project 2025 are likewise involved. I think this is outside Project 2025. I think this is more about his oligarch backers. Yeah, I think his oligarch backers were pushing this. They want to wait for all of the stock prices to fall, buy the dip, then convince him to U-turn on his tariffs and make a fucking shit ton of money.
Yeah,
I bet this is literally what's happening here.
100% that's what's happening, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Fuck things over and then buy it up on the cheap. It's a classic tactic. How do you think that all of this wealth got funneled upwards in the first place?
The thing isn't like Elon Musk fancies Yeah, Elon Musk fancies himself being a libertarian too, and he's literally doing what every libertarian hates, which is doing gigantic corporate welfare.
Well, yeah, but that's because what libertarians don't seem to realise is that that's all they actually stand for.
True.
They just, everything they stand for is just a return to serfdom. That's it.
Would be now.
Actually, no, not technically true. The end of the world, because I did once have a libertarian on a. I was on a genuine debate thing, and we were talking about the NAP, the non-aggression principle, and I said, well, I was trying to test the limits of what his thing. He said that any person should be able to own a nuke, right? Brilliant for a start. And secondly, if you step on one blade of grass on his garden without his authorization, that is a breaking of the NAP. So I said to him, if I break one piece of grass on your garden, would you, under your principle, be allowed to drop a nuclear bomb on me? And he said yes.
literally.
So, I mean, it's just... how do you deal with someone so dense? A crowd that will boo the concept of a driver's licence.
Well, with the libertarian convention in 2016, where they're just like, no, we don't need driver's licenses because we'll all have jetpacks.
Well, my favourite one. What next? I'm going to have to need a licence for using my own toaster?
Toaster?
And I was like, if a toaster travels at 90 miles an hour, yes. Yeah, actually.
So Gary Johnson getting booed for saying, well, I think some kind of licensing system is probably a good thing.
I can't hear the great and ancient city of Aleppo. I can't hear that place name now without laughing. And I feel very sorry for the people of Aleppo, but I'm thinking of Gary Johnson. What is Aleppo? Not multiple lepi, of course, just the singular Aleppo. Fucking Fucking idiots.
More amenable to free trade deals with the likes of the UK and the EU, given the way that Trump is punishing them.
Yes, but also China, right? China's looking very favorably right now at this trade war, in the same way that Russia was very happy with what Trump has done recently in terms of embarrassing Zelensky. So we have both Russia and China.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's literally the point I was making earlier about like how would his policy be different. He is handing geopolitical power to Russia and China in spades right now. Like China is going to hoover up a lot of the business that America will now lose.
Xi Jinping, do nothing and win.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the time and tested strategy.
Honestly, Mao was playing the long game. I'm telling you. Just hang on, lads. Don't get do like the Russians and try and take them on. Fuck that noise. Just wait for them to kill themselves. And they are.
For different reasons, benefiting massively from what this U.S. president is doing. But just coming back to that first question, because it's very important to be clear, these tariffs will cause inflation in the United States. They will cause lower consumer power of U.S. workers.
Yeah.
The estimates are between $1,700 to $5,000 per family in terms of the cost of these tariffs. So this is bad for the U.S. workers.
That is a lot of money. That is a lot of money. Fuck me. Oh, God. Trump's such a fucking arsehole. This is so pointless. It's so pointless. America has such a sweet deal in the world, and he's decided to bollocks it all up because of, what, a blue-haired barista or fucking small tits in a video game. Brilliant.
Yeah. Listen, I've got more I've got to ask you, so don't go away. Lots more from Mariana, Dawn and Robert after the break. And I'll also be talking to the creator, the godfather of artificial intelligence, Nobel Prize winner Jeff Hinton, about whether we've got any chance of keeping the robots from taking my job for a starter. See you in a minute.
I don't mind them taking your fucking job, mate. You're a melt.
Apparently, the total tax that American citizens are going to be paying for the tariffs is $6 trillion.
Trillion on. Oh,
$6 trillion.
Okay, global recession, here we come. Woo-hoo-hoo.
Oh my god.
That's more than like all of Africa or some shit, man. Fucking 6 trillion. That's mental. He's a lunatic. He's a lunatic.
Hello. Welcome to the Twitter break. Hashtag Peston. We're talking about AI. So we actually got some AI, some artificial intelligence. We've got some news moments. Turn them into anime. And let's see if you can remember what they are. I think they're easy.
My favourite fact about the Edstone.
Yeah.
My favourite fact about the Edstone is that it was designed. It was the idea came straight from the head of Torsten Bell of "I Have a Mortgage to Pay" fame.
Yes. Yeah. Amazing.
Very funny to me.
Thanks.
He went straight from being an advisor to Ed Miliband that helped him lose the election to a Resolution Foundation chair so that he could be close to Keir Starmer so that he could get parachuted in as an MP, only for his very first public appearance as an MP to embarrass himself and be remembered as the mortgage guy forever.
Yeah, brilliant. Fucking excellent.
Torsten Bellend, true.
True.
2050.
Edstone.
Edstone.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Yeah.
How did you feel, Dawn, when that happened?
How did I feel when that? I was like, who was behind that? That's how I felt.
You ever worked out?
Torsten, it's your MP.
Yeah.
MP for Swansea West.
Didn't Tory buy it?
Infused. Yes, I think it
He
has been.
looks so young. It's unbelievable. Look at this moment.
Oh,
he's got something. He's got an impression. Go on, Roland.
It's such a beautiful moment. It's such a great thing that Theresa May, the first 2017.
I can't say what I want to say because of terms of service. I can't. I'll get locked up, chat.
It looks like more like Nicola Sturgeon, I've got to say, than Theresa May.
That's when they did the Handmaid's Tale, when they put that over
it. Do you think he prefers Theresa to Keir?
And that's interesting.
Hold on.
Oh, that's
Ed.
Yeah,
these faces.
That's last year.
I want to be anime. They look so young.
Yeah,
I know that.
This is British politics.
To be fair, this is something fun during the advert break. I'll let them have it.
I know. I'm not letting them have it. They're cunts. No, just fucking off. Just turn off.
Ed Davey? He looks about 21 years old.
That's the worst artificial intelligence rendition I've ever seen.
Do you reckon you could do better? We don't need AI. We've got Robert. He could have done this better.
That's normally what people say.
That's realistic.
Looks like he's holding a giant syringe. But there we are.
That's true. And, you know, and Boris Johnson has never looked either so thin or so young.
So that's...
He must have done it at some point.
That's when he was
not when that photo was taken.
When is that? 2012 or something? It was when they launched the. It's not the London Eye. He was
no,
the
it's
thing.
the cable car.
Yeah, he was in the cable car.
Sarah in chat, nations being forced to stop orienting their economies around exporting to the USA could be good. Might cause them to build up their domestic markets via more public investment. See, Corbyn was just ahead of his time. Like Corbyn knew, he could see it.
Yeah.
We all knew that it was all about building up domestic markets. We all knew he was well ahead of the curve. Like, we'd be so prepared if we'd elected Corbyn in 2017 and then proceeded to get cooed in 2020 when he tried to lock us down for the pandemic.
Almost certainly. But the problem you have with that dear chatter, is that you're assuming you have leaders who give a fuck about their own domestic market or the people of the country, and are going to actually invest in that instead of just cocking us out to America in the first place. Which is exactly what is happening.
I mean, I'm going to do like a whole. I'm pretty gross right now. I'm not streaming with my camera on because I've been very ill, as I said, and I've only just got well enough to do a stream today. But I'm going to do because I'm still streaming, doing Question Time in the evening. I'm doing like an off-stream recorded segment. I'm just going to title it "Keir Starmer is a traitor." Yeah,
I think that's fair. That's a fair comment.
Because he's a traitor.
Well, literally, I mean, one of the stories I covered with Curtis earlier. The murder of a British citizen by the Israeli state. We have footage from an RAF plane, which was essentially being used as an extension of the IDF to do reconnaissance on their behalf, of that taking place, and they won't reveal that footage, which would shed light on the murder of a British citizen in order to protect Israel. That's traitor work.
Literally, like Elfolen from TurnLeft, he's put out a tweet today, which I thought was, maybe a little bit too far, saying something like, well, Keir Starmer wants Palestinians to get slaughtered. He wants them to get ethnically cleansed because he wants Israel and Zionism to be successful. And I was like, I think he's just doing what America tells him to do. But given you've pointed this out now, I'm just like, the purpose of a system is what it does, right?
Yeah. It's good to know, isn't it, that if you get murdered by Israel, the US government, the British government won't just not get justice for you, they will actively collude in the whitewashing and cover up of your murder.
Literally.
Love paying taxes, it's good.
Oh, what would you most like to have? What moment in your life would you most like to have turned into a little AI anime?
Oh, me calling Boris a liar and getting thrown out of Parliament. That bit I wouldn't mind that.
I like that.
I remember that. There's so many moments, so many great moments.
Oh, good. Oh, yeah,
I don't know where to want to choose. Oh.
There's the milkshake.
Milkshake gate.
By the fans.
We stand.
Yeah.
Victoria
Absolute
Thomas
queen.
Bowen, we stand the Queen.
Was that his minder?
It's like amputated or something. Them terrible.
Yeah, it's true. It does look like
horrible.
I think this one's more realistic, actually.
Farage looks like Walter Matthau. Actually, he doesn't look like.
It does look like
Robert,
Walter
you haven't
Matthau,
chosen yours. What's your moment?
Oh, my great moment. Oh God. Well, there's so many. I don't know.
All of those children they starved. Yeah.
Also, what moments has Robert Buckland had? Fucking no, Mark. Of course he hasn't had any moments, right? Like, there are random backbenchers who are more important than him just because of memes on Twitter. Do you remember Gary Sambrook eats big dinners?
Yes, I do remember that, yeah.
Best moment.
Or
honestly,
just Mark
the best
Francois
moment
for being just a weird little guy.
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
Like, Robert Buckland, my favourite moment in Parliament, probably the lines of Chaz I do on a Wednesday afternoon in the toilets, That's probably, that's the actual truth.
Winning my 4th general election on the 2019, that was a great moment.
2019 election?
Moment. Yeah.
That's the moment you'd like to hold in time.
I have a photograph. We can generate AI. It'll make me look,
give it a go.
no
Next
doubt,
time.
a lot younger.
Bye.
Okay, enough. Shut the fuck up. Fucking me. I feel like I'm on hold.
So much more from Mariana on the Trump tariff shock for Britain and the world in a minute or two, but we're going to have a brief digression from Anushka.
Yes, you thought that Keir Starmer was straight.
Well, thank you, non-binary, actually, for pointing out.
But it turns out
that smartphones might be increasing by $800.
So what, like, I mean, more than double, basically.
I mean, I think if you look at like an iPhone 4, it's about $1,500, I think.
Oh, is it?
So it's an extra like 50% on top of the price.
Fucking hell. Well, honestly, I get tinned goods in and like bunker down because it's gonna be a rough one forever. I'm going doomsday prepper with it. Fuck it. I'm gonna start selling buckets of stuff.
Honestly, if this is what fucking tanks Apple finally, then I'm going full MAGA.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I'll vote Trump.
And, yeah, you just literally you destroyed the Apple product line, and you created Android supremacy, global Android supremacy.
Oh,
you know what, Trump, not a bad guy.
Let's go.
he wants to shake things up.
Oh, Jesus
He has said that taking out an actual chainsaw isn't quite his style, but he does want to cut the government down to size. In a letter to his cabinet, he argued that slowness and lethargy are backed into the system. He thinks
baked, but close. But also like the fucking government has already been cut by well over half since the Tories took power in 2010. Like the government hasn't been this small since the fucking laissez-faire days. For fuck's sake.
Actually, Jack points out correctly that he's using the saw to cut up wheelchairs.
True.
Apparently, somebody pointed out in chat, and I just looked up the article for it. Apparently, the DWP cooked the books, and the OBR saying that there is literally zero evidence that anyone will get back into work because of these cuts, and not only lead to job losses.
Brilliant. Thanks, Keith. Fixing the foundations with a chainsaw.
that everything outside of the walls of Westminster moves much faster. But he does say the public are hungry for change and disruption. And so, look, we asked More in Common to delve into all of this. And they have given us some exclusive polling, which does have signs that Starmer may have a point. 47% of people think government and the civil service are barriers to change, rather than just over a quarter who think they are forces for change. But here is the thing, the public...
That's a really stupid question, because they're both and neither at the same time. It depends on what change you mean and in what way. Look, that's such a simplistic and stupid question. I'd refuse to answer out of basic principle that I'm not a fucking idiot.
Yeah, like it's so vague.
Yeah.
In terms of what it's, like, it doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah, so stupid.
Do not see Starmer as a disruptor. On this disruption scale, they place him on -17. People are more likely to say disruptive is a bad way to describe Keir Starmer than a good way. As for Nigel Farage, he is on +31. And look, I think people want authenticity. So can Starmer be authentically disruptive? Plus, there is another challenge for him. Yes, voters want change, but when pressed on whether they want politicians to be a safe pair of hands above this line or willing to get the chainsaw out and shake things up below this line, that is true of Reform voters. They do want that, and they are going to be really key.
Bit disappointed with the Greens there, if I'm entirely honest.
I mean, me too, but at least they're the lowest of the three people who are perceived to be on the left here.
Yeah.
Fucking hilarious to me. It just tells you full well the kind of fucking briefcase wankers who vote Lib Dem. Yeah. Even at a time of national crisis, cost of living crisis, everything going wrong, COVID, Ukraine, Liz Truss, 22 billion pound black hole, do the whole Labour spiel, but the state of the country and how much people feel Britain is broken, it's Lib Dem voters who are just like, nah, let's keep these things the same, actually.
Yeah, this is good. No, we're on the right track.
I'm doing fine.
In the next election. But for supporters of every other party up here, they actually prefer calm. They prefer a safe pair of hands. For this excellent polling. Louis O'Guerin at More in Common is our Geek of the Week. And I'm just going to pick up on
another reason.
Why have they got like fucking American radio style, like fucking bits of noise happening? Geek of the Week.
Literally.
Fucking hell.
I mean, there's an important correlation to look at when it comes to Farage being seen as a disruptor and Reform UK voters leaning towards it. This is why I found it really important to point out on TurnLeft the other day that when you look at the crosstabs for the latest polling from Find Out Now, who are the most reform-friendly pollster at the moment, right? They're the ones whose model weights the highest towards reform. If you look at the crosstabs for people who didn't vote at the last election, 50%, half of them, exactly half of them, are voting for Reform UK.
Yeah.
It's the politically disenfranchised. It's those who looked at the absolute shower of shit that was on offer in 2019 and said, no thanks, I will vote for none of these people and I'll stay home, who are attracted to Reform UK's politics. So it's natural that it makes sense that to look at the people who aren't sold on politics, to look at this and go, well, we want someone to be different and disruptive, and Reform UK are the only people offering that. The Greens were the lowest polled in terms of people who didn't vote at the last election. So if you want to find, so if the Greens want to find a way, because it looks their own voters are not particularly happy with the status quo either, but they're not so removed that they are as down in the disruptor level as Reform UK is. If we want to win over those non-voters, then we have to start looking more disruptive.
Yeah.
And stop playing nice.
Indeed. Hello there, My Left Eye. Everyone go and follow My Left Eye immediately.
Do it. I command you.
These things with you. Dawn, just on that point, Keir Starmer doesn't strike me as a disruptor. Can he be authentic and disrupt?
Well, he's more of a statesperson, right? So he came into his own when he got the world leaders together.
Establishment.
Yes. But
Excuse me, I think you'll find the phrase you're looking for is he played a blinder. Thank you.
But that's what he likes. That's where he feels comfortable. And so I don't think he's a disruptor in that sense, but at least, you know, he with his statesman persona, he made the country look good. And this is why I think there's a clash between how him and Trump are going to be able to move forward and communicate, because they're on two different levels.
And can
This
I
is
just
the
ask you
problem,
about a
right?
couple of policy things, both of you?
Is that in basically any other time in history there was this need for a safe pair of hands, right? There was the kind of the majority of the electorate weren't looking for people outside of the norm, you know. And the one time where we desperately needed there to be someone like a radical reformist in charge of the country, and we have fucking Sir Brill Cream.
Yeah, literally.
Instead.
The worst person at the worst time.
Exactly, especially given how much the Tories had capitulated that basically any Labour candidate would have won the election. You could have just fucking had inanimate carbon rod with a red rosette, and they would have won the election against Rishi Sunak. Yeah. And instead we have like somebody who's going to destroy the Labour Party forever. Like if you saw that More in Common poll, when you projected it out, they were losing all but one seat in South Wales, all but one seat in the North East, all but 3 seats in Birmingham, all but 5 seats in Manchester. You know, they were losing seats everywhere in Merseyside that weren't Liverpool Central.
That's historic wipeout levels. That's really
Literally
appalling. It's almost like they've completely abandoned and betrayed their core voters.
Funny that, isn't it? Crazy, funny that. Literally, basically the only base they had left was London. And even then, it's a bit shaky, isn't it? Like, and I commented underneath that, like, well, if this is turned out, Labour dies forever. Basically, the Labour Party does not exist anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
There's some quite big welfare changes being put forward by your party, quite painful ones. I mean, we've been reporting on this at ITV News. We've had a lot of really heartbreaking messages. Will you vote for them?
Well, I mean, I too, I've had people emailing me, my constituents in Brent East, email me like at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning. So it proves that they're not sleeping, they're worried about this. So I'm very concerned about these proposed changes. And so I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet. I do not feel in this.
That's enough for me. Get in the bin. If you haven't decided, if you're umming and ahhing about whether we should eviscerate the disabled, go fuck yourself. I hope you lose. I hope you lose. Even if you lose to reform, fuck it. We've already got a reform government. At least fuck me when you're telling me you're going to fuck me.
Well, this is Brent. She's the MP for Brent, right? So if anyone's challenging in Brent, it's the Green Party.
Fair enough. That's brilliant then. Yeah, get this fucking knobhead gone and get someone half decent in. Fucking hell.
And that's the thing. She's
I'm
usually
not
would
sure.
be.
Shall we eviscerate the disabled or not? Should we put them in? Should we make them into Soylent Green? I'm not sure.
When she's literally a member of the Socialist Campaign Group. It should be absolutely paramount to immediately have a united front from the SCG to say absolutely not, we will refuse to vote for this. And she can't even be forthright enough to say it. She's got a platform to attack the leadership from.
The Socialist Campaign Group, if that word means anything, then they need to kick her out, because this is ridiculous. She's not a socialist. She's just not. In any capacity. I'm really concerned about this. Maybe I might vote for it, though. I don't know. Fuck off.
Form that it is that I can vote for it because, you know, when I was last in government under Gordon Brown, we lifted 400,000 children out of poverty, and
does this feel like it's going the other way?
Made me feel proud, and so this makes me feel uncomfortable.
And what about you, Robert? Surprised to see a Labour government doing this?
Yes, frankly, and I think it's the wrong place to start. I'm all for the agenda of improving productivity and getting more people into the jobs market. I did my own report last year for government about autism and employment. I think it's a very odd place to start when it comes to personal independence payments. That is all about lifting disabled people into a position of equality with others. Very strange place to start if you're going to reform benefits.
He is sounding more fucking social justice-y than anyone on the Labour front benches. There's a Tory who presided over 330,000 austerity deaths going, I think these welfare cuts are banned when we're taking away from the disabled because PIP is supposed to make people disabled equal with everybody else. Yes, literally. He's right. He's 100% right.
Keir Starmer has been outflanked to the left by Robert fucking Buckland. Honestly, how can anyone vote Labour at this point? What do they fucking offer? They're absolutely fucking awful.
Yeah, I mean, if someone told me this was like a CIA psyop to destroy the Labour movement in the UK by proxy, like, I would believe them.
Operation
like,
Galileo.
Literally, purpose of a system is what it does.
Yeah. Fucking hell. It's so... You know, you deserve to get wiped out, lads. Fuck you.
The trap of previous governments and fighting battles that ultimately they're not going to win.
And let me just ask you about something else that has happened. The Justice Secretary has slapped down the Sentencing Council over guidelines that were meant to allow magistrates to look at a person's ethnic, age, sex background, because the data had shown historically that people were getting longer sentences. It appeared unfairly. They've given in. What do you think of that?
Well, look, I think there's a complete storm in a teacup. If you actually read the guidelines, they allowed flexibility for judges to order pre-sentence reports in any case involving custody or community sentences they thought necessary. It was not an exhaustive list. You know, I think...
So the guidelines should have stayed?
I see no problem in them at all. And I think the Lord Chancellor has...
Jesus Christ. Oh, my God. They're making Robert Buckland sound like a revolutionary leftoid by comparison. Even he's like, no, it's a storm in a teacup. It was fine. No need to do this.
Yeah, there's plenty of reason to redress historic injustices and over sentencing. Bitch, true. Literally true.
Oh my God. Robert Buckland would be a more left-wing leader than Keir Starmer. Okay.
I mean, Boris Johnson more left-wing leader than Keir Starmer.
Yeah, and as corrupt. But at least you knew Boris Johnson was piping. At least you knew he was fucking. Like, I could vibe with that. It was relatable. It was lovely.
Literally, and on top of this, Keir Starmer's probably told more lies.
Most certainly. At least Boris Johnson didn't lie in order to become leader of the party. Jesus, because there's not a person he hasn't lied to. Except his wife, of course, because again, Keir Starmer's not interesting enough to have had an affair. So I think he's probably kept his marriage vows, I imagine.
Panicked at the first sign of pressure and has actually damaged relationships with the judiciary at a time when we need to strengthen them. I think it's a complete red herring.
Dawn, do you agree?
I do, actually. I agree with Robert. I think... I think
there wasn't a two-tier justice?
Well, there was. There always has been two-tier justice system in regards to how black and brown people have been treated in the justice system, and that is why in 2016...
Yeah, it's a demonstrable fact that for the same crime, a black person on average will go to prison for longer than a white person. That's just
literally
true.
Yeah. It's just 100% true that the black and brown people were over-sentenced, and the pre-sentencing reports being done with, you know, guidelines that say you should take into account these particular demographic characteristics was there to redress that problem of over-sentencing, you know?
And interestingly, and this is the only point at which the MRAs have ever had a point, I think, is that statistically speaking, for the same crime, a man will be sentenced to significantly longer than a woman for the same crime. Little fact.
I don't know the stats for this, but
yeah.
Actually, Theresa May had said and admitted that this was a burning injustice in society. And what I think we need to do is have these conversations about how black and brown people are treated in the justice system and how we change that and how we have a fairer system for all.
Okay, Robert?
Yeah, so I'm going to pick up on some of what you've just been discussing with Mariana. So one of the things we have just witnessed, as Anushka pointed out, was rushing through cuts to financial help for disabled people, making it harder for mentally and physically disabled people to get the personal independence payment, halving the health-related element.
Someone just reminded me, yeah. One thing you did miss when you went to the loo was Ed Davies' claim, and I don't know if this is true, but that Donald Trump has put tariffs on Ukraine, but not Russia.
I think that's right, yeah.
Yeah, which is delightfully mental. Just really well thought out policy, Donald. Thanks.
Of universal credit, all designed so that the Chancellor would not breach her fiscal rules. Fiscal rules which many people would say are way too binding because they're about a forecast of, you know, debts and deficit 5 years from now. Do you think this is a rational way to make really sensitive decisions like welfare decisions?
So the problem is always to go to the source of the problem and not to the symptoms. And one of the biggest problems in this country is not that we've been spending too much or investing too much. We've been spending and investing too little. We have one of the lowest levels of business investment in the OECD. We're 28th. We have one of the lowest levels of G7 investments in terms of public investments. Had we invested the average in the G7 over the last 20 years, we would have invested in the public side 500 billion more.
So does that mean that the rules that constrain investment, the so-called fiscal rules, are badly designed?
Yes. So the current fiscal rules are imposing, if you want, the idea of cuts, but missing the point that actually by cutting and by not being strategic about how to invest, we're hurting the denominator of debt to GDP. So you could actually be reducing your deficits because of the fiscal rules and having this kind of target of just reducing short-term spending because of those rules. But if you're also cutting in all those things, including the social spend, which actually means that a lot of people will need, it costs less to educate someone than to put them in prison. So all these, cuts, whether it's on the health spend, on the disabled spend, on the winter fuel tax payments, then what happens is that those actually have social consequences that cost the government more in the long run. So there's two different problems. One is that we're just using these short-term fiscal rules without looking at the long-term benefits of public investments, but also that we're not looking at it systemically.
And so very, very briefly...
It's so true.
Yeah, it literally is. Like it's the same problem with Elon. You're looking at one side of the ledger. Just cutting doesn't mean you're saving. Like, let's say you get rid of, fucking airports or whatever, or airport authority. You might save 20 billion, but then all of your planes crash and people die, which is going to cost you a lot more in the long run. So if you just look at the money you don't spend, that does not equate to money saved.
Exactly. It's like cutting down on the maintenance bills for the house that you live in and then having to buy a whole ass new house when the house collapses. Or say with a school roof by any chance. I don't know if any country's had a problem with collapsing school roofs in the recent past.
I'm trying to rack my brain on that one, but I can't think of anything now.
And that's the thing as well. It also cuts into the broad failure of austerity. When she's talking about like the debt to GDP denominator, what she really means is to explain to people is that if you grow your economy through productive investment, whether it's public or private, you can use that as a way of which that no matter how much debt you take out to be able to finance that growth, if you're growing faster than you're paying down that debt, that means that your overall debt to GDP ratio is dropping. And that's what happens if you have strategic investments. She spoke earlier in the show about how all of the big things that have been a linchpin of American technology, things like touch screens and the internet and microprocessors, these are all the function of American public-led research. DARPA, the universities, these are all public institutions that have had public money put into them strategically for certain types of investment that have then led to innovation and increases in productivity that have benefited the comparative advantage of American or European or certain kinds of markets, depending on where that research was used and how that was innovated. If we'd have been doing that during the austerity period under George Osborne, we might have had more business investment into this country, might have had more of an innovative sector that allowed for more growth, made us more productive. Because remember, we've had stagnant productivity since 2010. It's barely grown since the financial crisis. And even at the time, people were critiquing George Osborne, including Rachel Reeves, saying, well, you can't just cut public investment and expect private investment to fill the gap. And yet, that's what Rachel Reeves is doing right now because of her stupid fiscal rules, and even scrapped a £28 billion pledge for green investment to replace it with private, which now isn't happening either. So she's a failure on both George Osborne's terms and her own terms in being a good chancellor.
Tariffs are going to slow growth here. It will almost certainly mean that the Chancellor will again run out of so-called headroom, and therefore she will face pressure to put up taxes or cut spending again in the autumn. Would you advise her not to do that, to ignore these fiscal constraints?
Well, the problem is that it's self-imposed harm. There's no deterministic law causing these fiscal rules to be into place. So yes, the tariffs will hurt the UK economy. All the different evidence is suggesting that. And so that will hurt the revenues even more, which makes it even more of a reason not to have these false budget constraints, because ultimately what we need is to expand productive capacity. So if you actually have smart strategic public investments that crowd in private sector investments and the social spend, which makes sure that the citizens in this country live well and are nourished in their well-being, the social and economic determinants of health, then all these things are actually good for the economy. But that doesn't mean helicopter money. That means actually having a strategy, these 5 missions that the government has, that needs to be invested in.
Yeah, I'm glad you remembered the 5 missions.
And that's the thing, really important.
The government seems to have forgotten.
When she talks about the linchpin of productive capacity, that doesn't just mean the actual things you use to be productive, which is true. We do need more investment in these things, which is why I was such a big fan before they cut it of the £28 billion investment, investing in the supply side on energy. It's incredibly productive. Reducing energy costs make other businesses more productive and makes it more incentivized for people to come and invest in this country. You have a big, heavily subsidized, high capacity, and high supply energy sector, which is why we are non-competitive, because our energy is more expensive everywhere else, would have made it much easier, would have brought energy bills down for both residential and commercial people, would have been much easier for everybody if they'd have done that investment. And they haven't done it. And it's just the same when it comes to things like PIP or the social spend or the public realm more broadly, in that people are more productive if they're well. People are more productive if they don't have shit going on, if they don't have poor mental health. So we need more investment in these things to help these things get better. And we're not doing that. We're taking money away from the disabled. Like sure, PIP is something for people who are in work, and they'll be less likely to be productive workers if you take their PIP away.
True, but have you considered that the cruelty is the point?
Well, literally, it's posturing.
Yeah.
It's first of all, people like Liz Kendall always want to cut welfare payments, and Rachel Reeves said she wanted to in 2014. Right? This is who they are. Yep. But on top of that, I think Morgan McSweeney and Keir Starmer and Pat McFadden think it'll make them look like sensible governors, because they're essentially mocking George Osborne as their blueprint for what sensible governance looks like. Because
they want to be seen as the economically competent party to the Daily Mail and the Sun. That's it.
Yeah.
They want that section of the media establishment to think of them as the sensible party, especially when the Tories are seen as the unsensible 22 billion black hole Liz Truss party. So that's all they want to do, and that you have to do the performative thing of clamp down on the poorest in society, because that's the only thing that you can do in neoliberal land.
And if you look at the crosstabs for current polling as well, divided by household income, in the lowest household incomes, Labour have plummeted. And Reform UK, the slash the state and get rid of all the public spending party, they are now ahead amongst people who are the poorest. Labour are winning amongst all of the high earners now. A lot where it used to be the Lib Dem territory, and Labour are now winning with these high earners and these crosstabs, right? And it's like, well, that shows you the kind of people who are backing Labour, people who are so removed from the consequences of poor economic spending that all they care about is the vibes of people who look like they're fiscally competent, even if they do stupid stuff like welfare cuts, which are not good for the economy.
True. And people will say that they're voting against their best interest, and that is true. But people who make points like that often miss the same problem that was missed by the same people before Brexit. When you've got no skin in the game, you sort of don't care what the alternative is. It's the alternative. Just like, if I don't have any future, then you trying to sell me on a continuance of the same bullshit that fucked me in the first place, I'll just throw the pieces in the air and see where they land. That's exactly what a lot of people did in Brexit. People of Sunderland didn't necessarily think it was a great idea, but they thought the alternative, the status quo that was being offered by David Cameron, was evil. So fuck it. Anything but the current thing. It can't be worse. I've got no fucking skin in the game. And that's exactly why people are going to vote Reform. Not because they think they're necessarily brilliant or they like Nigel Farage, but they fucking despise the Tory Labour uniparty bullshit.
Exactly. And as I said before, when you looked at those same crosstabs, it's non-voters who are voting Reform. It's people who's had so little skin in the game they didn't even fucking show up. They looked at the entirety of the public realm in terms of the politicians and what they're offering and said, nope, I do not want to participate. So they're so checked out that only an iconoclast is someone who would be able to win them over. It doesn't matter that their interests aren't aligned in terms of policy, because the people who should historically have been looking out for them were too busy mollycoddling middle-class people to win over swing seats in rural south of England.
And it's so annoying, because literally, if you look under the posts, and I know it's Twitter, so it's not like necessarily representative of everything, but I think there's a certain utility to looking at those things. If you look under the posts of him going like, we've removed a squillion gazillion people from the country, aren't we awesome, and we're against the illegal smuggling gangs, and all of this shit, it's all just like, you're a traitor, you're a piece of shit, you're still letting in 1 million migrants, open doors, blah blah blah. You're not winning any of these people over. No one. You're not winning a single fucking person over with this rhetoric. But what you are doing with everything else you're doing is removing any chance of any progressives voting for you. You could potentially win millions of people
is showing.
by having any kind of semblance of an actual Labour policy, but you don't, and so you're going to get destroyed and be remembered as an absolute fuck up.
Literally, and that's the thing is that when you look at the same polling, like Labour 2024 voters are voting for the Lib Dems and the Greens.
Yeah.
Most of the Reform UK uptick is in non-voters and Tory voters. There's a lot of talking about Labour losing votes to Reform, and maybe that's happening in like Wales and in the northeast. But there are loads of people in this areas who are also just not going to show up as well. Who did vote Labour and now vote for literally nobody.
The non-voter factor works in both ways. It's like a 6-pointer in football or something, where not necessarily the equivalent number, but a lot of people who didn't vote last time because they hated them will vote for the Reform Party, and probably a few for the Greens and things, but mostly the Reform Party, I would imagine. And a lot of people who did vote Labour this time, even though they weren't necessarily very enthusiastic, have looked at what they've been offered by this shithouse red Tory party and just won't vote for them. So it's like a dual for the previous non-voters will have been replaced with new non-voters, and on both occasions it will fuck Labour because they've fucked the people.
It's why people kind of misapprehended what happened at the American election, in that they said, oh, there's this big shift towards Trumpism and the Republicans. I'm like, there wasn't really. There was an uptick in politically disengaged men voting for the Republicans. There was a shift amongst the male cohort voting Republican. But there were also a lot of people who previously voted for Joe Biden who just didn't fucking show up. And do you know what the biggest reason was when they were polled why they didn't show up?
Genocide.
Because he fucking committed genocide.
Yep.
It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. And there were obviously a bunch of other things too. But you look at the Zoomer vote, like specifically the young men. People keep talking about young men love Trump. He's winning with young men. The young male vote for Republicans didn't really shift anywhere. But the young women or the young Democratic vote fucking collapsed.
Well,
the turnout collapsed.
The genocide was one thing. I think one of the opportunities he had and that the Democratic Party had to really change the narrative was the parliamentarian thing. If they'd have not done
$15 minimum wage.
If they'd have forced, well, not even forced, just done the basic thing and just made that happen, it changes the narrative completely. Whereas now, what we remember is, oh, they made the excuse of the parliamentarian, and Kristen Sinema did a little fucking jig and went up and thumbed it down. That's the Democratic Party that people see. And no one wants that. No Democratic Party voter wants that fucking shit. Add the genocide to that, and no one's going to vote for you, you prick. No wonder you fucking lost.
And in like the middle demographic, like the working families demographic, like there were loads of policies that were really good for them that the Biden administration passed, like the expanded child tax credit and like Medicare expansion. And these policies all fucking ended in 2023. Yep. Like, why didn't you continue to the election? How fucking stupid are the people running the Democrats? Like, it's so easy just to give the people who vote for you money, and they just stopped it. Like,
but Cory Booker did a standee. He did a standee wandy.
But anyway, there we go. Anushka.
You're going to be talking about artificial intelligence, so I want to look at where the UK is in the AI
I'm
race.
bored already.
Do we give a fuck about AI?
No. I give so little of a fuck. I can't possibly explain to you how little of a fuck I give.
Are you still talking
it's all AI for the rest of the show.
There's well, hang on, there's more Mazzucato after, but maybe they're talking about AI. Hang on.
Go on, we'll have a look. We'll have a look.
At the moment, which is absolutely no question that Trump is changing the world in a very significant way, and today feels like another significant milestone.
Well, no, not if you're Keir Starmer. You can just pretend like your trilateral commission wet dream still exists. Honest. The transnational, it's still there. Special relationship. Woo! Look, literally, they're doing hypernormalization to themselves.
But if one were to throw ourselves, say 3 or 4 years forward, do you have a sense of what the world will look like then?
I mean,
dystopian hellscape? That's what I'm thinking. Judge Dredd?
Definitely.
Yeah?
Okay. Let's go. Let's fucking go.
Look, I do think there's this...
At least with Judge Dredd, they'll have to invest in infrastructure to some extent to have those kind of characters around the place.
Of potential coalescence of free market economies, perhaps not involving America in any extent, to the extent that we've got used to since the Second World War. And I think the irony of the Trump policy, the paradox, perhaps I'm being too kind to it, is that in their attempt to try and isolate and deal with China, they're actually making China's position better. And therefore I think that we're going to end up with a sort of reverse set of consequences from what this administration, however transient it might be, unleashes. I think, putting aside whatever might happen in the next presidential election or even in the midterms, which I think will be determined by the course of the US economy, by the way, I think Trump is unleashing forces that are going to be very difficult to tame. The old world order post-1945 is over. And what we have to...
Oh, God! Not only is he more of a fucking socialist than Keir Starmer, he has a basic understanding of the situation. Honestly, I'm going to say this now. Compared to the actual Labour Prime Minister we have, I would prefer Robert Buckland to be Prime Minister.
It's so true.
And it genuinely makes my skin crawl to have to admit that. Fucking hell.
Also, it is funny, like, for some reason... It came up in my old tweets. It was a picture of the Senate and House at the midterms with Democrats with like a 20 seat lead in the House and a 4 seat lead in the Senate. And I was like, this is what happens at the midterms. What's happened? And my quote tweet was just, tariffs make burger taxi price go up. And I'm Nostradamus.
Yeah, true.
Literally, like you look at the kind of shift.
Yeah, go on.
If that carries on to the midterms, literally the kind of shift we saw in Wisconsin voter intentions, like Florida's 1st district being won by 10 points or something, it was like a 30-point margin at the general.
Yeah, they're
it's not looking good.
Yeah.
Order should be. We need order, bearing in mind the challenge that Geoffrey Hinton has set us. If we don't, I'm afraid more chaos and uncertainty is going to be the new normal.
Dawn, you heard Jeff Hinton worked for Google for quite a long time, one of the world's absolutely biggest companies, presumably made a lot of money, now saying socialism is the answer. It's not really a message that your leader is hearing, is it?
Well, I mean, I think we're going to be having discussions.
Oh, burn! Oh, you didn't need to dunk on him like that. He's already dead. Oh.
I didn't even know who was quoted. Who was quoted as saying that?
Some fucking tech bro guy. I don't fucking know.
Oh my god!
But either way, like
incredible.
he just, I didn't expect a fucking pest and flex on him. Oh, oh, that was a murder.
Oh god.
Around capitalism versus socialism, actually, and I think when you talk about chips, for example, and what we need, the reason why China's so far ahead is because everything got outsourced because they wanted it to be made cheaper. And that's why the Five Eyes decided that what they needed to do was get together and build an infrastructure so they can then start developing chips so that we can have two different...
What kind of answer? Again, she's part of the SCG. And she's been asked a very straightforward question about, like, essentially, is your party leader, is he a socialist, essentially? And she's wittering on about China and chips. You're fucking shit. Get in the bin.
Literally, no, this is the end. This is the end of the international free trade order. Long live domestic manufacturing and cooperative ownership.
True.
One that's more secure. So I think we're going to start having discussions about capitalism versus socialism, and then when we talk about AI and whether it's sentient or whether it's human or not, I think the reason why he struggled at the end is because they're not human. And so, like, do you prefer
It's true, Keir Starmer isn't human.
Keir Starmer isn't human, and neither are the people who like using AI.
True.
They're vermin.
The human that you talked about versus
Although
AI.
I did see some amusing, there were one or two Ghibli-fi things that were quite funny. The JFK assassination did make me laugh. The recreation of the Twin Towers as Ghibli art, also funny.
Reminded me of when like Dolly, what it's called Crayon now. They've like that AI like art thing. Back when AI was funny and it was just a fucking funny thing on the internet, not the harbinger of the end of society.
Yeah.
And it was one of the funniest prompts was a 9/11 gender reveal.
The tower falls and it's pink. Yeah.
Literally just like the explosions from the plane hitting with like blue and pink confetti.
Yes.
Oh, let me find it.
Not as destructive as some gender reveals. I poisoned an entire city's water supply to do a gender reveal. Oh,
oh dear.
9/11, also known as Spirited Away. Oh no. Oh, that's a very poor taste joke. Outrageous. But also, yes. Do nothing, win. Oh, okay. Oh, I see you posted on Twitter. Sorry, X, the everything app.
Yeah?
Hello?
Hello?
I thought you were sending me something to show or something, no?
Oh, I can find him.
Oh, sorry, okay. I'll continue then.
And so we then have to have a discussion around humanity and what that means to be human. And that's a whole new conversation.
So we're almost out of time, which is very, very unfair. Defining moment for the world we're living through?
Well, I don't think it's capitalism versus socialism. It's a very different type of capitalism, and the kind of capitalism we currently see under Trump, but also in the UK, where you have companies like Thames Water not reinvesting back into the water infrastructure. We end up with sewage in our rivers and lakes and seas, and we don't actually rethink the social contract between public, private, but also citizens. Then we get a very problematic form of capitalism. And, you know, when Jeff Hinton talked about socialism, for me, that's also about how do we create value differently from the beginning. And that's actually about the algorithms themselves. We currently have a situation where it's not that you're searching Google for free, Google is searching you for free.
Totally right. And this whole issue about how we make sure we get value for our data, central. Sadly, we can't continue that conversation now. That's it. Trump's 10 weeks.
Thank fuck for that.
Wow. Jesus Christ.
That was
Robert.
Yeah, that was intense.
Keep your wig on.
True. Well, on that bombshell, we'll leave it.
I'm tired. It's 20-1.
Is
Should
it?
we get right into Riverboat Jack?
Oh, for fuck's sake, it is 20-1 as well. Oh, I've been streaming for like fucking 6 hours.
You have been doing a lot of streaming. Go follow KF Logan 1875 over on Twitch. Do it.
Everyone go and
show him
follow,
some love.
everyone
Join on
go-
Patreon.
No Justice MTG. She's friends with Ash Sarkar. That's all I need to say.
I am friend. It's true.
Yeah. We go over to Riverboat Jack, who is also awesome, but is not friends with Ash Sarkar to the best of my knowledge. I can't confirm.
Used to be previous friends with Anna Kasparian until recently.
Former, yeah, but back when Anna Kasparian wasn't completely trash. She was never great, but she wasn't always a bonus hole. As I like to refer to such people. Yeah, she is my favourite birthing person. Certainly. Yes. On that, I can't even be by. I'm too fucking tired. Everyone, just
Free
fucking go
Palestine.
away. Go, all of you. Fuck off. Free Palestine.